We're getting ready to go live, brothers, in a few moments, a few seconds here. Okay. And we are now live, and we're going to go ahead and get started, brothers, and welcoming you all to We Must First Be Brothers. If you don't mind coming from behind the names, so we can see some of you as we go live, just so people can know it's just not your brother here. There's the mighty John. What's good, black man? Good to see you, beautiful brother. Looking like I can't hear you, brother, but you're looking like you're about 25 and a half over there.
Oh,
Praise be.
yes, sir. Yeah, no, sir,
Yes,
brother. I'm up here trying to reflect my brothers.
yes, sir. Oh, there, brother Lewis is. You know
Brother Lewis from the
he a
South.
teenager.
Brother Lewis Ali from the South.
Yes. Okay. I see a few of my dear brothers on the call, and we welcome you all, brothers. And we're just going to go ahead and get started, just to lay our foundation for today. I start by just our salutation in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise I forever do. And I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger Messiah. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is their servant and divine reminder and present day warner among us. I greet you, my dear brothers, with the greeting words of peace. We said in the Arabic language, the language of our forefathers, of Assalamu alaikum, in English simply meaning peace be unto you. And we remind you that that is a universal greeting of our people, and it is a prayer of peace. So we come in the spirit of peace and with the prayer of peace on our heart, by the grace of Almighty God. We are living, brothers, in a critical hour, an hour where the condition of black men in America is not accidental, it's engineered. The enemy has made it very difficult for black men to thrive by design. And this is not social dysfunction alone. This is actually war, psychological war, spiritual war, and an attack on the mind, the identity, the purpose of the black man. And the result, brothers, is paralysis, instability, emotional detachment, disconnected from our divine nature. But understand this, and it's important to understand that this present rule is sustained by conflict. And those conflicts are escalating, leading to a greater conflict that will end the present world of rulership. So the question is not, is something coming? The question is, are we prepared, Brother John, as you raised this very important topic that we're on? What are we doing right now in real terms to prepare? The most honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, the only time evil prevails is when good men do nothing, pursuing selfish interest while the world collapses around them. So this is not complicated. It's very clear. It's on us. And if it's on us, then we must first look inward. The Holy Quran, Surah 13, verse 11 says, surely Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And that is law. If we do not change, nothing changes. The Holy Quran also says in Surah 8, verse 60, and prepare against them whatever force you can. It says prepare, not wish, not hope, prepare. The Holy Quran again says in Surah 3, verse 103, and hold fast all together by the rope of Allah and be not divided. That is brotherhood. That is unity. That is survival. And if change begins within and preparation is required and unity is commanded, then it becomes very clear. Everything starts with knowledge of self. Because a man who does not know himself cannot change himself. And a man who cannot change himself cannot prepare himself. The knowledge of self destroys low self-esteem. The knowledge of God comes through his attributes, and the knowledge of God is the knowledge of self. So if man does not study, he cannot know himself. And if he does not know himself, he cannot align. And if he is not aligned, he cannot stand. Study is not optional. It is requirement of the time, because we are facing a serious reality. War is on the horizon. The question, are we prepared? Are we raising our children to think, to discern, to stand on principles, or to be used in another man's war? Are we preparing for the rise of new systems, Brother John? Artificial intelligence, automation, technological control? Or are we being replaced because we fail to prepare? And preparation is not just spiritual, it's practical, it's structural, it's economics. Minister Jabril, great scholar and teacher, said, we cannot become wealthy alone. We must build group economics, a team, a unified body, because power is built collectively. And if we are honest, we are way behind, very late in making the necessary progress. And out of that lateness has come a great deal of dissatisfaction. And that dissatisfaction has produced a very dangerous mindset and disease. So we're here today by the grace of Almighty God, Allah, to talk about being prepared in an hour like this. There are diseases growing in the hearts of men. There's war on the horizon. The stage is set for crucifixions. And you have to understand the crucifixion is not just about one man. Although the one man is the pivot, it's about you and me. Because if the one man, or if God raises up a man and that man is speaking wisdom to help us to become brothers as we should become brothers, then that man is an enemy of the enemy. And therefore, whatever attacks come to that man is also coming to us. So we must first be brothers is a very serious mission that we are partaking in, brothers. And we have to be prepared. So Brother John and we were talking this week, and it was a sense of urgency on brother, which has led to this discussion today with all that is happening before us. The question that we're putting on the table today is, are we prepared? Are we preparing? The time and what must be done. This is the discussion that we're having today. So we welcome all of you brothers onto the call today. And we want to really roll back the sleeves and have a very forthright and healthy discussion. You know, because we have become certified internet reporters. We become expert at talking about everything that's going on, but we have not prepared. And some of us who have been under the tutelage of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad have been forewarned. And we have also been warning our people of a time like the one that we're living in. Now, some would tell us, oh, don't get too much into the war talk. And I think that a lot of that is out of fear. And that's not necessarily what we're here to talk about per se. But we are here to talk about it in terms of a backdrop. Are we prepared for what's coming up the road? Have we taught, are we teaching our young boys in our communities, even the Muslim children and our young Christian brothers, whoever they are we teaching them that this is not their war? Are we teaching our children and are we preparing our community to be prepared for technology, the takeover of technology? We were talking last week, Brother John, about the thousands of jobs that are now being lost. What are we going to do? What are we doing as men, as brothers, to prepare for an hour like this? This is a serious kind of discussion that we have to have, Brother Lewis. This is a serious discussion, and I think that we got to raise the vibration in our community and push this conversation out here because we sleep. We sleep, man, and we still waiting on a mystery God, Brother Lewis. A mystery God to come and feed and clothe and shelter the black man, and that's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. We're waiting on a benevolent Caucasian to come and run for office, or some Negro even, to run for office and save the day. It's not going to happen. So that's what we're here to talk about today. We just want to get it off strong, just get it off the block real strong today. I see Brother Tony on the call. Welcome, my brother. So, Brother John, we're going to let you go ahead and kick it off, brother.
Okay, yes, sir. I don't know about kicking it off, but
you're kicking it off.
I definitely want to greet everybody tonight with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And I definitely want everyone to come in and enjoy yourself, participate. This is not a one-way discussion. This is supposed to be as steel sharpen, as men sharpen men, steel sharpen steel, as steel sharpen steel, men sharpen men. This has to be a two-way conversation. This is a dialogue, which means two-way conversations. Most of the time, one person is quiet and the other person is listening. We got to have dialogue. We got to have a serious think tank and propose questions. I, more than anything, just want to propose some questions and some thoughts because, and I wrote a couple of things down. So I really want to get across. And the things that I have written down here, I would consider them to be disruptive. Because at this moment, I know we all heard this, and Lewis understands this because he was a fireman. If your house is on fire, I can't go over there and ring the doorbell. That's not going to wake you up in the middle of the night if it's on fire. Ringing the doorbell is not going to do it. It might, if you got one of those doorbells that, you know, that is a fire engine doorbell, but I have to bang on the door, maybe bust some windows out, yell and scream to get one's attention, to get that person out of a burning house.
Come on.
Martin Luther King even said it before he was assassinated. Him and Harry Belafonte was in the room. Harry Belafonte said that he was standing in the corner and he looked really concerned and things was on his mind, like he was heavy laden. And he went up to him and said, "Martin, what's going on? Are you all right?" And he said, "I think," I'm paraphrasing some of this, But the essence of the thing was, and he said this, brother, I think I am leading my people into a burning house.
My people.
Into the fire of a burning house. What did he mean by that? Well, I'm gonna tell you the result of it. We're gonna all figure out right now tonight what he mean by that. I don't want to give any answers, but the result is now we are at a. Brother Lewis can attest to this. There are different alarms for fires. You got a 1 alarm, 2 alarm, 3 alarm. I think we are at a 1 million alarm fire. Do you realize that 108,000 jobs have been lost in the last month? Do you realize that we will be the ones that's going to be hit the hardest? UPS just laid off 30,000 people. Again, how many of y'all seen white UPS people delivering boxes? How many people see any of us that's doing the service, as in the service industry, other than black people doing it? Huh? And people of color. So, my brothers, what I want to say is war doesn't create brotherhood. It exposes who already has it. AI is the great umbrella, and the black man are refusing to learn this lesson. The time is now, not when the economy gets better. That's not going to happen. Brotherhood without humility is just a gang with better slogans. What must be done is simple and brutal. Kill our pride before this war kills us. The time demands speed. The work will be hard, especially when you're trying to wake somebody up. And this wake-up message now is not doing the job. You can't wake up a dead person. We have to have relentless humility to do this. And the brother who refuses to work and waiting for a moment will be guaranteed never to be ready when this moment comes. If this draft comes up in the mix of all these layoffs, which brother you trust with your life based solely on how humble they are? What would happen if all this happens tomorrow? Not next week, not this tomorrow. Most of us don't even understand what's going on in this world. The conflict, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the war and I'll be quiet. The conflict that they're talking about, Iran, quote unquote, is blocking the Strait of Hormuz. That is an easy way to say it. What they're blocking is the entire engine of the world. Every country depends on that 2-mile stretch. It's about a 2-mile stretch. That's all it is. And Iran didn't block it. If you want to know who blocked it, it was Lloyd's of London Insurance Company. That's who blocked it. The second day of the war, there was 125 ships that were just sitting there that couldn't move. The second day of the war. Why? Because Lloyd of London pulled all insurance on every ship, every cargo ship. The cargo ships alone was worth $500,000, let alone what they was carrying, $200 million of, not $200 million of product, $500 million of the ship. So you're talking a $700 million of a $700 million, how would that be, gamble if you go through that Strait of Hormuz without any insurance on your ship. So when Lloyd's of London pulled all the insurance, everybody stopped. The word has been, well, they blocked it. Iran has blocked it. They didn't have to block it. They knew this was going to happen. So here's where the real conflict comes in. And most of us, we not understanding. When the president of the United States turned around and said, we will insure every ship, what he just did was told Lloyd's of London, don't worry about it, we're going to do it. Well, Lloyd's of London was doing it to also raise the price up to get more money. But when Trump did it, he pretty much said, we're going to take all the money. Y'all don't want the money, we want the money. So now, England, all the European countries now came back and was like, hold up, I'm going to put it in 2026, brother talk. Hold up, man, you ain't finna take all this money. Put that money back on the table, bro. We finna roll these dice again. you're going to give us another shot. And that's what's happening. So, and at the same time, Iran is raining down rockets and the whole everything else. What we have to understand is what you're looking at Iran now is true brotherhood. Oh, we didn't know that, huh? This true brotherhood. That have solidified everybody. They all have said, we are not doing anything. We're not going anywhere until we get what is deserved. No more conversation. Time for talk is out. I am going to bring that over here. Time between us, talk is out. We will have to unite, just like them Iranians doing over there, and go down with the ship. And that's what they're planning on doing. So if anyone else has anything to say about,
I'm going to jump right in here, Brother John. We're gonna go.
We really have to understand that it is imperative today that brotherhood start being implemented. Because if not, this is real. This would be really as the messenger said in Fall of America, the fall of America.
Absolutely. And it really is already the fall of America. And that's what we're witnessing. And we have to, and I thank you, Brother John, for helping to set the tone, because there is a sense of urgency. And we don't want to skip over that sense of urgency and responsibility that we have as Black men and brothers in an hour like this, to be informed. We have to get to a point where we're informed about what's going on. That's why we were given from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, these words: the time and what must be done. Not just the time so we can discuss it, but we need to know what we should do. The things that we should be doing to prepare and protect our family, like having survival kits, having things that will allow us to at least be able to survive in our home for 6 months, even maybe now even more than that. We need to understand that what the enemy is doing abroad is ultimately going to be done right in our communities. And the sad thing about it, brothers, in many cases, he already is doing this in our communities. He don't have to necessarily come and do it. He's already dividing us thoroughly. So we don't have the strength of our unity to resist, and we will not be able to effectively resist in a gross individuality.
That's right.
Understand how important that is. You know, I was studying Minister Jabril this week, you know, and I recommend any of you believers, non-believers who don't understand this teaching, go and pull up those lectures from Minister Jabril or Dr. Ava, you know, some of those who were very deep in terms of breaking down the strategy and the mind of the enemy. Of course, and number one would be the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So the reason I mention is because the delivery and the information is teaching you how to critically think. And we have to learn how to critically think in an hour like this. You know, but one of the things that when he pointed out that we cannot become wealthy even as an individual. And I mentioned that in the little opening. We can't do anything. And Brother Lewis, you've been talking about this necessity for us to close ranks, and as a matter of speaking, to get into closer proximity with each other. You know, it's important that we understand why that is necessary in such an hour like this. Because if we don't have a unified front as brothers, then it will be very difficult for us to, and I'm not talking about necessarily getting ready to go out and create a conflict. I'm talking about just the basic survival, you know, just being able to survive as a people and prepare our families and our children. You know, I'm riding around my son and I'm like, do we understand that this enemy has enacted a policy now where he can call your son to go to war? Where if we had been taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that this war would end all wars, he told us that they would go off to fight, and that they will come back in the 2s and the 3s. They will come back totally annihilated. We have to understand that what's happening is the stage is being set for our people to go off, our young boys and our young girls to go off to literally die. Now, I know some say we shouldn't be talking. We don't talk. What? We need to warn our people. That's not just the job of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It is the job of every brother to say, hey, look out, watch out. This is what's coming, because we've already been taught, we have been told what was coming. So if we know that this is a war that may end all wars, that we're in the crux of Armageddon now. The Bible says when the birthplace of Abraham is surrounded by armies, know that the end is near. These are all signs in Scripture telling us to prepare. You see, so we're not just trying to have an intellectual conversation. There is a sense of urgency. We need to understand what it means to be a conscientious objector, how to take a position. Whether we choose, hey, that if they come and to one of our sons, that, hey, you'd be better off going to jail than to go give your life for a country that ain't gave you a darn thing and will not give you anything. That's important for us to put out here. The government of the United States of America, I heard the minister say, if they were to treat us right, if they were to give us real justice and give us what we are due, some land or something that we can call our own, then we would be justified in going off fighting in their wars. But we have to pay attention to the time. Brother Tony, I see your hand up, brother. Jump right in there.
Yes, sir, brother. You know, you and John are making some excellent points in a very, very essential point right now. Can you hear me? Is my phone?
Yes, sir. We hear you. Yes, sir, bro.
Okay. You know, it's very essential what the point that you're making is very essential. And I'm trying to watch this traffic because I'm out here, on this road with this rig. But I wanted to draw our attention to something that y'all both pointed to, and that's that. Essentially, we don't have a chain of custody, and we don't have a chain of command. And the reason why that is so important is because one of the reasons why civics was taking out of society, of the educational system, is because when you don't have civics, people don't understand how the machinery of government works. And when you don't understand how the machinery of government works, you don't understand how essential you are as a gear in the overall machinery of a nation. So when you look at at Iran, for example, the reason why she's referred to as a continental power, because what did the Iranian foreign minister say? He said that if I have 300 soldiers, I have 300 generals, because from the first man to the last man knows how, is informed about the order, and knows how to execute the order in the absence of their immediate commander. So if we have 300 men, every one of them is a potential general that can carry the movement and the nation and the leadership forward. We don't have that. When you have a country like America, as opposed to China doesn't have secret proceedings, despite what anybody says about them. Their agenda, national agenda, is open to the public. That's why you can have an opposition party. You can have an opposition party because they know what's going on. In a country like, when you come to the West, Western countries have secret proceedings. And when you have secret proceedings, suppose they did a decapitation strike on the leadership on Western government, then the nations will fall immediately. Why? Because nobody knows what these chumps been doing behind closed doors. And when you look at these other countries, the reason why you can look at a Chinese factory worker. Look how skillful and proficient that person is in the factory, because they know that if I'm proficient in my job, I don't want to be the weak link in this chain that keeps this machinery called this nation, called the Chinese or the People's Republic, moving. But some of us are so personal and so simple-minded, we think that we are the machine. And because we think that we are the machine, the mistake that we have made is not understanding what our civic duty is, not only to the people, immediate people around us, but to our overall nation as abroad. We don't know what our civic duty is. No, there is not a preacher nor minister, nor famous personality that can uphold the civic duty by themselves.
That's right.
And because we push it, as we push personalities to carry the nation, and I'm not just talking about the Nation of Islam, I'm just talking about the Black nation and agenda. We push these personalities who are not necessarily qualified in every respect, and they don't know what their civic duty is. They just are compelled to do a duty. Does that make sense?
Yes,
the
sir.
Minister Farrakhan was compelled to do a duty. He does not have the capacity to fulfill the civic duties of an entire nation. He has said it many a times.
That's right.
But we were not listening to him, and we were so
That's
captivated at his speech that we expected him every time after he spoke good to pull a rabbit out of his hat that was going to make this machine called the nation run and accomplish the agendas that us as individuals never picked up. And so we have people in leadership capacities who don't even know, again, what their civic duty is. Everybody wants to mimic the minister and do grandiose speeches. Everybody wants to mimic the minister and be charismatic and get out here and showboat, if you will, and be the next articulate spokesperson. But nobody wants to do the grunt work like the factory worker in China who was turning out 100 boxes per minute, and it was just flowing nonstop, just flowing. You know, and he was so proficient with it that he didn't even have to look at what he was doing. And the people that were at the other end behind him, they didn't even have to look up and examine him, because they knew he's so proficient in his duty that everybody was doing that. Every job that they was doing and executing, they could have did it blindfold. We don't have people who can come in. Excuse me again. We don't have people, and I'm going to end my point on this so a lot of people can chime in, because I wanted to stimulate some thought around what you guys have said. We don't have enough talented people who can come in and who know how to run a government and put people in their proper place so that they can run the government in the absence of quote unquote leadership. John said something profound last week when he talked about having leadership without a leader. When you have, like the foreign minister said, when you have 300 soldiers and I have 300 generals, that's having leadership without a specific leader. Because if one man gets knocked off, you're not going to stop nothing. Then you get the respect of what they say Iran has right now of being a continental power.
That's right.
Yes.
We don't. Excuse me again. We don't have that because, like Brother John just mentioned, we're so disconnected, we're so fractured, and we're fractured because it's like this, man. Let me just give you this example. We know that people need to sit their ass down, period.
That's right.
And we listen, when you are running a machine and you hear some squeaking in that machine, you say, "Oh man, them gears need to be replaced. Them levers need to be replaced.
Come on,
that chain need to be oiled or replaced." Because what civics does, civics teaches you where the squeaky wheel is. Civics teaches you where the weak link in the chain is so that you can replace it. Because it's going to make the most noise. I don't care if you have a handmade Rolls Royce. Once that thing starts knocking, It can be as pretty as it is. It can be as glamorous as it is. It can be have the potential worth that it has. But if you do not do the proper maintenance on it, you just got a bucket, as we say in the hood. You just got a fancy bucket. And that's what all of our organizations are becoming. They're becoming fancy buckets because we are listening to some squeaky wheels. We are listening to some chains rattling that are loose. Like when you pedaling that bike and it keeps slipping, you're like, damn, why these wheels keep slipping? Oh, this chain got a weak link in it. And you'll pull over immediately and take off that weak link and tighten up that chain and put that wrench on that bike, and then we keep it going. And then
you keep it going, brother. That's how we did it. Yes, sir.
But because we have all of these personality affiliations and affections, we don't want to let somebody go because we know, even though we know it's a weak link, we know you a squeaky wheel. We know you's a grinding gear and you hurting my damn ears. But because of this personality affection, I'm going to let you grind on until you grind this beautiful nation that we all say we love to a halt. And then we got to try to pick it up because we didn't have the strength or the fortitude or the intelligence. We did not have the practical, objective intelligence to say, hey, remove that gear right there. I don't care whose name it got on it. I don't care who is kin to what it been through. Remove that gear right there. And that's what we failed to do. And we constantly are stuck in that state. And that's why when, and again, let me just end here. That's why when things seem to go crazy, we have a state of confusion because we have never established civics and our civic duty among one another. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, salam. Thank you so much, Brother Tony. And I'm going to tell you, lit the trail up, brother. And I'm 100% agree with you. You know, it's about maturity. And that's what we're talking on one level when it comes to what we say we stand on. And when a man has learned knowledge sufficiently, he should be able to stand on something. He should be able to run the machinery, Brother Lewis, right? When you teach the A team how to do something, it would be counterproductive for you to have to go back to the A team every 5 seconds to make sure that they're doing what you taught them to do. When you teach them, you have entrusted them, and then once you realize that they are proficient, then you can go and do something else and allow them to do what they need to do. What Brother Tony is saying is so fundamentally right and exact, because when you have people and you have leadership who's insecure, then it does not allow the ushering in of the greatness that's in other brothers to come along. That's why we're talking on this subject right now. That's why we pushing this line, we must first be brothers. We're not pushing, we must first be your boss. We must first be your minister. We must first be over you. We must first be your leader. We said we must first be brothers, because in each brother is the dwelling, is the potential for greatness and the reflection of God. And so when you allow the man to be inspired, that same brother can help save your life. He can save your family's life. You don't know what's in the brother if you don't allow the environment the proper environment for brothers to grow and to have that level of expression. Now, I got a little spiritual on the point, but I think it's right in alignment with what we need to look at collectively. You know, you have to learn, we have to realize that Nabi Elijah Muhammad did not come to, and the God from those of us who are Muslim, didn't come to teach us how to become dependent. They came to teach us how to develop an independence with God in a unified way. That means I can look over at you and know that God can show up in you at any moment as my brother. I 100% am looking for that. I'm open for that. That should be the culture that we live in. That I can expect that God may show up in my brother. I'm talking to Brother Lewis, and we were going over the study guides, and we had this discussion going, and Brother Lewis said, let me read this to you. And he read something to me that I had read many, many times. But when he read it to me, it was a spark in it because of the energy and the mind and the God in my brother that inspired a thought in me. I said, man, brother, I'm finna go deep back into my study guide. You see, If you're not listening for God, then you don't respect the greatness in your brother. We got generals amongst us. We got generals on the block. I'm riding with my son. I'm coming to you, Brother John. I'm riding with my son. I look over at my son. We talking. And, we bonding and building our relationship on a whole nother level because he's moved into this environment. And I'm proud of how he made his move. And, he's a man. He's a man. I can see the evidence and the proof of the wisdom of these teaching. So I'm riding with him and I look over and we talking and I said, put your music on, son. He put his music on and he playing a lot of the music that they listen to. And I'm listening to something. Then he started breaking down what I'm listening to. Then I'm saying, oh, I'm listening to Young Boy and Brother John and other these. I said, son, these are gods. I said, the world is not listening to these young brothers. I said, but these are gods. These are the new generals. These are the new leaders. But we had to have a proper connection and pour into these brothers properly, not with a judgmental spirit, but with a spirit and a belief to know that what's in them is something that will help us to move to the next level altogether. Brother John, it's on you, brother.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to say thank Brother Tony for he did exactly what my thought process was about opening this. It was to get everyone to think better, to think deeper, to understand what's going on. Some of us come on here, we haven't even spoke since we've been on here. That's not brotherhood, brothers. I'm gonna tell you one more time. This is not brotherhood. I understand some of us, but at this point, everyone on here is intelligent enough to see a problem. And if you're intelligent enough to see a problem, you're intelligent enough to formulate a solution. We all have something to offer. There's no big I's, no big U's. Please, brothers, you may have something. You may spark something. I did it. I opened up in the way I did it and did the points so that everyone, and Brother Tony grabbed the baton and he said it. He said he sparked something in me and I want to spark something in everyone else. So this is what this is about. Let's spark something because when we work together, that's how brotherhood is going. Brotherhood is not me watching Brother Lewis do all the work. Brotherhood is when Brother Lewis and I sweat, Brother Tony and I sweat, and we all get in here and we look up and say, man, Brother Mike's strong. Man, look how strong Brother Mike is. Look what he did, man. I didn't know he could do that. We all grabbed a part of this and we all have contributed. And so now we see each other's strengths. We see each other. Man, that was a good point. You brought this, you brought that. But please, brothers, everyone jump in and bring what you got. I know you understand something that's going on.
Absolutely.
So please, the way Brother Tony, how he started, that is a perfect example of listening to something and being able to expound on it and give us all. He has opened up my mind with so many other things and moved this way. I could respond, but we all need to respond, brother. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So, and as we navigate this, your brother, we're gonna definitely pull on you if you are inspired. And I don't want any brother. I hear exactly what Brother John is saying, but you don't force yourself. Make sure you're listening and that you're inspired, because as Brother Tony talked, I'm inspired, and as we host this process, it's energy flowing. And, you want to allow the energy to flow in such a way that inspiration hits your heart. So I just want to encourage you, brothers, just to reflect on some of the things that we're talking about. I think that's the most essential thing, is to realize the time that we're in and what must be done. It's a very significant conversation that we're having right now. It's a sense of urgency. I'm coming to you, Brother Lewis. What I was pointing out regarding young boys and some of these young brothers, that's an essential thought process that we need to start having. We need to start thinking about how do we connect with the younger generation to help prepare for the time that we're living in. Brother Lewis, example again, I'll just use your example because you're in my psyche. Your sons, I come around. One of them is so stoic. He's such a god. I get around to these little brothers. I just be looking. All of them are beautiful, but one of them just has this stoicism about him that I really appreciate, because I see something so deep in the brother that's well beyond just the physicality. I see something in his essence, in his soul, that's deep. I see it in my son. I see it in other little brothers around here. When we're thinking about the time that we're in at this very moment, we got to start processing from a broader scope of responsibility to our community. That's why I put in the opening statement about what are we doing to prepare? What are we doing to prepare the young minds? What are we doing to prepare our young brothers in the street? Not condemn them, not talk about how what their shortcomings. What are we doing to prepare them? Because these are the soldiers that the enemy is trying to go and pull and go fight and die for him, when they should be pulled to us to fight and die for the cause of their own salvation. Brother Lewis.
Tony and Brother John and Brother Mike, your opening was incredible, brother.
Praise be to Allah.
I was listening to Brother Tony and Brother John, and I was thinking about our young people, and it triggered something in my thinking. Paul said in the Bible that he couldn't leave the people yet because Christ wasn't formed in them yet. See, a lot of times, and I could see with us, we hadn't developed to a point to where the minister's spirit is deep enough in us to where he could make his departure. There's another scripture in the Bible where it says, hold back the four winds while I go down and seal my elect. There's a mentality that we got to grow into. And there's a mentality that we got to train our young people into. I always mention this. I'm going to mention it again. We're going to have to admit, because John mentioned about that famous conversation that went on between Dr. Martin Luther King and Harry Belafonte, where he asked Dr. King, "Why you look melancholy? Why are you so melancholy?" And he said, "I fear that I'm integrating my people into a burning house." Our ancestors built over 100 years of wealth as a foundational stone for us, particularly our Black fathers. And I'm talking about from 1865, when they left so-called slavery, until almost about 1965, when they fell for integration. Now, our Constitution, and Brother Tony's very familiar with it, I'm sure, is on the back, part of it is on the back page of the Final Call newspaper. What the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. And point number 9 on what we believe. I mean, think about that. What we believe. What we believe. We believe that the offer of integration is hypocritical and made by those who are trying to deceive the Black people into believing that their 400-year-old open enemy to freedom, justice, and equality are all of a sudden their friends. Furthermore, we believe that such deception is intended to prevent Black people from realizing that the time in history has arrived for the separation from the whites of this nation. If the white people are truthful about their professed friendship towards the so-called Negro, they can prove it by dividing up America with their slaves. We do not believe that America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for her own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for, at that time, 20 million Black people as well. It's important that we always quote from our Constitution and what we believe, not what we think, what we believe, based on our commitment to these teachings, which are part of the salvation plan that God came and brought in person to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to deliver us from a slave mentality that we gained by calling another people massa for over 450 plus years. We believe that we who declare ourselves, this is point number 10, to be righteous Muslims should not participate in wars which take the lives of humans. We do not believe this nation should force us to take part in such wars, for we have nothing to gain from it unless America agrees to give us the necessary territory wherein we may have something to fight for. These are foundational stones that we can't get away from lest we get outside of the blessings of God and move ourselves into the cursing, the curses of God. There's not a decent black man who shouldn't teach his son and daughters what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. There is a scripture that says, how can two walk together except they have agreement? See, what Brother Tony he's pointing at with a lot of passion is how convoluted our thinking is about the core principles of what we're supposed to be about and doing. And so these things have to be pointed out. And we got to point it out on what the program is, because we're no longer in the I era. We've entered the we era. And I was in conversation with John, and we were talking about, we spend too much time talking about I and me, and I do this, and I. Your ministry is the see me I ministry. See me I, everywhere, see me I. It almost sounds like a rapper who say, you know what I'm saying, see me I, see me I, see me I. We're going to have to really get away from this belief, Brother Michael, in a mystery God.
Absolutely.
What happens here, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad opens up message to the black man. And he says, Allah is God. Who is that mystery God?
Come on.
I was telling Brother John about a conversation I heard the rapper Baby refer back to in his encounter with Minister Farrakhan. When he was talking, and you probably could get this on YouTube if you want to fact check. But Minister Farrakhan, when he met Baby, the rapper, he pulled him close to him and he said, you know, you really are a genius to overcome all the stuff you've overcame in your life. You are absolutely
come on with it,
genius.
brother. Come on with it.
Did you hear what I just said?
Come on with it. Come on with it.
I'm not saying I've mastered this, but he didn't look at Baby's tattoos or any of that stuff right there. He looked beyond all of that and seen the God and the genius in him. Now look, he wasn't just pumping Baby up or trying to stroke his ego.
Come on with it now.
Farrakhan can look at somebody who we might think is a wretch and see the diamonds, the rubies, the pearls, the oil, the resources, the gold that is in him, and he's seen him as a God buried under the tattoos. And he went right where the treasure was and began to praise God.
Teach.
Why am I saying that?
Teach.
Because too often we don't praise one another's God in brothers.
Teach.
And you start seeing Baby, the rapper, start standing up a little bit like a FOI. You know, when everybody get around the minister, they start getting straight. But I've been wondering, how can he get them so straight and we are not as effective as him, it's because he goes to the God part of them and starts highlighting that, teaching sisters when women come, they start pulling their clothes, trying to get right. The ministers here, everybody want to get right. But why can't we get right and start praising the God in one another? Because of that mystery God teaching. You mean to tell me we would rather believe in a God in space than to believe that God is buried inside of each and every one of us? I had this saying, skills pay the bills, and land literacy for all the land illiterates. The skills are inside of us. Know ye not that the kingdom of God is within you, is what Jesus said. So we have to sharpen our sword in terms of how we view the treasures in one another.
Absolutely.
So last point real quick, going back to training these young men now and young boys, every one of us should have some young men that we're trying to train, and we should train them fast. And yes. I ain't no lollipop dude, so some days are rough with me, okay? I have to form God in them. That means I have to go in them. And let me tell you something. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we don't whip our children when we're emotional and angry. You calm down. If you mad, don't go in there and brutalize them, because the idea of the discipline is to bring the God out of it and to form Christ in these young men. And before long, you'll see our nation starting to come up, like Brother Tony and Brother John and you were sharing with us.
Brother Lewis, fabulous, alhamdulillah. And I say that from the depth of my heart, not to flatter my brother, but everything you just said is right on point, brother. And I'm thankful to Allah, and I'm just grateful because I really called on the God heavily. And I do every time we come to this gathering, brothers, just so you all know, from the origin of when this thing hit years ago, when the thought was being put in our brother's head, your brother's head, by Allah's permission, right? The prayer has been constant, because it's not about an I. It is about a we. That's the whole nature of brotherhood. But you have to be willing to get past ego.
That's right.
To see your brother. You see, that's an essential factor. Everything you just laid out, as I was thinking about talking to my son, and he turning me on to different artists, some of which I knew and some of them I didn't know. And he's letting me know how they were providing therapy for each other. Like young boy, the young brother is providing therapy in this music. One brother, he shared with me, committed suicide recently. And I said, because I know about these current statistics, which are talking about young brothers unaliving themselves. You see, because the pressure, and I told my son, I said, that is because he doesn't have a big brother. If he would have had a big brother, the big brother would have helped him work it out. I said, it's not just mental illness, it's really spiritual illness that they're suffering from. And if we got the healing balm, then we can come and say to the young brother, here's a way out. You got the power, brother. You are God. You are special. And you know why the minister can penetrate like that? The minister can penetrate like that because he don't have a disease in his heart.
Allahu Akbar.
He's not in competition with the greatness of another black man.
That's right. That's
what I'm saying? The minister can do that because the minister has love in his heart. He's a pure and hearted one when it comes to black people. And therefore, he can see God. I've watched him do exactly what you said, Brother Lewis.
That's right.
And that's an example for us. That's why we lifting the brother up, because that's an example. We know that the spirit of the minister is just saying the spirit of Allah in the man. See,
that's right.
So what we witness in his example is how we should be with one another. I watched the minister grab brother's hands. I'm sitting at dinner, and we in the minister's department. He'll grab a brother's hand and hold a brother's hand, and he'll drop his head and he'll look up. He's feeling for the energy, And then when he speaks, he starts to speak life into his brother. See,
that's right.
When we take on that kind of attitude, then brother, now guess what the world looks like when it's not just the minister or a couple brothers that are in that modality. When it's all of us operating like that, guess what happens now? Now you got real unity forging and a power to overcome anything that is in our path. We start accessing the same power of the God that allowed us to create in that we that you talk about from the Quran, and the we that we get to participate in the process. We start to become a part of that we that helps to create everything that you see. So I want to just, before I go, just, and brothers, please weigh in at any point. We want you to weigh in, but we want to keep conversation going and energy going, because this is a very crucial conversation, because there's so much disease growing up around us. That's why I mentioned in the opening dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction comes because we're not doing what we should be doing. So therefore, we don't see a valuable product that inspires a man. When you do and you see something, Brother Lewis, when you go out to the park, every time you go out to that throw that dirt part, every time, and I'm not even in your mind, but I promise you, there's a sense that comes over you. Talk to me, black man. There's a sense of pride and dignity that comes over you, and it's a sense that comes over your sons. Hell, it was a sense that came over me. You see, and I didn't even go out there and help you build it, but I felt something very connected to it because of the accomplishment of my brother. You see, that's the mind that we have to have universally, and that's what our people are looking for, especially those of us who should know better. We should be more productive. You see, so I just want to close that point out, because it's love. It is the separation of our ego, getting the ego, overcoming that ego. But let me close this. You said something, Brother Lewis, and I tell you, it sparked up. Boy, I thank the God, because I sure pray. Y'all feel my energy, because I am excited. And I do get excited. You know, I'm really excited, brother. And I ain't, you know, ain't no need to hide. I ain't got to play like I'm excited about this conversation. But you said something about, and we talking about the minister being able to see God and then go and praise the God in the brother. One very important piece, and I mentioned it a little bit, if you really catch what your brother was trying to say in the opening, when I said the knowledge of God is to know his attributes. So if you want to tap into God and see God in your brother, you got to know what you're looking at. If you see the all wise coming through your brother, young brother, you see the mighty Al-Azim come through your brother. So when you see that come out of the young hip-hop artist tatted up with his dreads on, he walking through, you know, this little guy, all he's trying to do is let you know that he's a God, that he has self-expression. You judging how he got his look, but you ain't realizing he's just trying to find his way, oh my Lord, to the expression of the God of himself. You see? And so if you can't, and those of us who have been given knowledge, and this is the responsibility, and I put this on the FOI. This goes even tied into what you're saying, Brother Tony. See, we should be like ushers. We should be like, come, you know, here's the way. Here's the way, here's the path. Oh, you're great. Not pull your pants up. We know he needs to pull his pants up. But damn it, teach him who he is. And then you can get to all that. You don't even got to get to it, because he'll pull him up himself. You see, you ain't got to tell him nothing. He'll do it himself. You know, see, so all I'm saying is we got to learn how to teach God. I remember a brother taught me when I first came into the ranks. He taught, and I'm trying to remember the brother who was around the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a lot. I think it was a brother out of New Jersey. This might have been a Son of Thunder. But they were talking about how he was able, through what he had learned from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to teach the brothers on a cellular level. See, once you start accessing the God within as black men, because this is what we believe. This is not we must first be brothers, lukewarm version, Walmart version of brotherhood. We're talking about ascending into the realm of the Most High, the greatest expression of what a black man should be, which is the ruler of the entire universe. Shit, and we are unapologetic about that. The entire universe, man. When we talk about the knowledge of self, brother, we are the master builders of everything that ever existed in this universe. We got to tap back into that reality, man, and not just talk about it, but be about that. Praise be to Allah. So my point is, closing, I see my brother Jay there. Brother Jay in the building. What's good with you, soldier? Praise be to Allah. Brother Joshua in the building. What's good, brothers? It's good to see my brothers. Dr. Nash, I see you there, sir. Welcome you, brothers. My brother Kino, I think I'm saying his name right. Please forgive me if I'm butchering your name, brother. But you know, I just want us to understand how important that is. We got to tap in, man. See, once we start saying, I see God in Brother Lewis. I get on the phone with Brother Lewis. Brother Lewis is a God. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. He said, the God taught him that every one of us was going to be a God. That's what I just learned that verbatim recently from listening to Minister Jabril teach on that point. Every one of us is going to be a God. Now, how do all these gods operate together? If Brother John is a God and Brother Lewis is a God and Brother Jay is a God, well, how does the gods work together? It's by acknowledging the source of the gods, the source of our existence, and being able to recognize that in your brother. Brother Jay, you want to weigh in, brother? I see your energy popping off the screen.
You're going to have to find that unmute button. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Yeah. As always, it's a real good call. I feel like it's pillars, right? Every week it's been, you can reach back and grab something from the previous week as a add-on. A lot of good points made, Brother John, Michael, Lewis, Tony. One of the things that came to mind when you first started the conversation was, I know I touched on it before, with solitude, the importance of solitude and not just being alone. Solitude, really sitting by yourself, no social media, no distractions, and giving yourself the ability to think, right? Because all of this goes hand in hand. I love the conversation because I'm in the tech, and I've never been afraid of AI.
Yes.
AI has been around since the self-checkout, since we go to Walmart and complain that it's 12 registers, but it's only 2 open. So these people say, you know what, that makes sense. Let's not pay these people benefits. Give them sick days of leave. They go in the club Saturday, calling out Sunday. Let's just get a machine in here, and we'll pay the people that know the technology, right? Because you got to know it's always an opportunity if you know where to look. We'll pay the people that know the technology to come out and service these machines for us.
That's right.
Right. So it's ironic, right, with Chat GPT and all these LLMs, these large language models, as opposed to us as human beings, limited language models, right? We're a wealth of knowledge together as a community. But individually, we only know so much. That's why these calls are so important. I appreciate you, brothers, for curating this, because I don't really like indulging in conversations about what we need to do as a Black community, because I'm here.
Yes, sir.
With a Black community.
Yes.
With different skill sets and different, so everybody takes something away from this call with their energy raised and not drained and, essentially a waste of time, right? It sparked a think tank, right? A mastermind.
Yes.
So with that being said, it's kind of ironic that, people are outsourcing, if you will, their critical thinking to these machines, humans, right, that understand this technology, just upload this in a repository, if you will, to scavenge the internet so we don't have to go through 60 pages or something on Google. When it pops up, it can just pull up an answer like this. But the social engineering and the programming, if you don't have the critical thinking,
that's right,
you're not going to cite it, fact check it. And that's a skill in itself, because just because they give you a link, AI can also build a website, with phony resources on it. So at the end of the day, you have to have critical thinking skills, even to use these agents. That's why sometimes if you notice, in the beginning you use it like Google, you'll start saying, man, this thing got a mind of its own. It's rearing off topic. You know, it's a language.
Yes.
It's a language model, a LLM, right?
Yes.
But to get back on track, I think it's just certain characteristics that you have to have as a man. I think as a Black person as a whole, but being that the majority of us on here are men, number one is leaders.
Yes.
You know, you got to have some competency as well to know when and how to adjust. And I always say it's a fine line between being patient and knowing when you're wasting your time. You know, so you have to, many of us want the instant gratification with Instagram, right? Instant. But you have to take the time and have discipline. That's another, you know, characteristics you have to have as a man. You got to have integrity, discipline, because all money ain't good money.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You get it slow and watch it grow, or you get it fast and it won't last, right? So you got to have the patience to develop the skill set so that because you get paid based off of your skill set. You don't get paid based off of the lifestyle you want to live, you know? So we have to take the time to use these resources that's out here available to us, especially my generation.
How can I buy?
And use it for good. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Instagram, social, all these things are good. Yes, if you know what, like, that's how I met you brothers. You know what I'm saying? Yes, so it's like, it's all about how you want to use it. And Brother Mike, you made a great point with the music. You know, I'm a huge lyricist guy. Yes. You know, I listen to a few modern rappers, but not many. And one of my favorite artists is Nipsey, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the lines that came to mind when we were on this conversation, he said, "Young Black nigga trapped and he can't change it. Know he a genius, he just can't claim it because they left him no platforms to explain it. He frustrated, so he get faded, but deep down inside, you know he can't fade him. How long till I stay dedicated? How long till opportunity meet preparation? I need some real reparations before I run up in your bank just for recreation." You know, so oftentimes you got to really decode the message and what that is. It's like a lot of Black brothers. You know, he don't want to be at that job with the white man talking to him all types of crazy. You know, he getting frustrated. He waiting on a paycheck every 2 weeks, but he getting frustrated because it's spent. You know, because he don't have no real skill set to, you know, get him a larger biweekly paycheck or something. You know, but it get deeper than that because when you really break down most systems of a job, if you will, most of us not really getting paid for nothing. And if you are, you're losing your job to AI, right? That's right. So what we need to, I personally believe we need to understand is the full system. And that's what I tell the young brothers. Most Black people, they go to colleges for different reasons. Most of us go so we can, you know, be the first in the family to say we graduated, or, you know, a measure of success or whatever. But I noticed that other ethnicities, they go for the network, right? Because they understand most of them people there, they either have the business, the father, mother has the business, or they're going to start the business, right?
That's right.
Who's in our network? You know, like this is some of my network here. Yeah, like we're not talking about, I don't know the latest in the news, you know, maybe Lotto baby pregnant, or, you know, something with Diddy. Right. You know, none of this stuff pays us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's sometimes it's good to measure up against, right? So you know what not to do when you get the money, right? Because you got to be prepared. That's right. For what you could do. If you don't have a plan, you probably will self-destruct. You know, the saying is a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Right? So, but yeah, to get back onto the skill aspect in the job, most of us don't understand at these jobs that we get these 6-figure salaries, or, you know, 60, 70, whatever. We have a skill set. You know, we just haven't really figured it out yet, what it really is. And we also haven't understood the business side that these people have, which is why they'll hire us and use our resumes to market our services, right? And we don't leverage our knowledge. So we continue to exchange our time for money. You know, and it's only so much time, right? That's so, right. And then they sandbox their rules, right? So, certain things you ain't gonna be able to say at the job, and all that's gonna do is just go boil you down in the inside, right? But it starts with a level of discipline, which you have to have as a man to decide to be here on a Thursday night and not just be here, but actually partake in the conversation, ask questions if you need to start somewhere really, right? Because life about choices, right? So you have to constantly make the right choices because where you are oftentimes is the direct reflection of the choices you either made or haven't made that compounded over the years. You know what I'm saying? Like Dr. Nash isn't a doctor because he watched a TikTok video, what I'm saying? And said, hey, dang, like, hey, man, I know how to do a heart surgery from a 3-minute video. So, and it's funny, but it's not because a lot of people in my age haven't really understand the social engineering, the statistics. I don't really argue, with how people feel. I look at statistics.
That's right. That's right.
And statistics show that the average person don't pick up a book since they leave high school, aka when they were forced to. Right. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I love the topic.
A lot of good
you
said
insights.
Yeah, brother. Thank you, brother Jay, for dropping them bombs.
No problem,
Absolutely, beloved. Yes,
warming
sir.
the stage up for me.
Yes, sir, brother. No doubt, black man. We appreciate everything you just said. And I wanted to just kind of follow up a couple of thoughts because I'm so grateful to know because just learned something about you, being in technology, which I didn't know, which is extraordinarily significant, and it made me think. It thought about something from I think it's Solomon who said, "There's nothing new under the sun," and there's so many people in this society now who are afraid of technology. But the truth of the matter is, this has always been the way of the black man. We've always been producing greater tech throughout the annals of time. The human body itself is a technology. You are not the body itself necessarily. The body is a composite of memory and cells that correspond historically all the way back to the ancient days. There's a saying that the body is older than the mind, but we live inside of this machine. And that's where we live. So we walking around with these mechanics, but we don't realize that a mighty God made a machine that we live in and we rotate in. And that's why as a man becomes wiser in the spiritual realm, he can actually leave the body and come back to the body. You see? And the Quran says Allah takes the souls of men while they sleep. Go ahead, brother Jay. I see your hand back up. You cooking, so I'll let you keep cooking.
No, good. Yeah, that just sparked a idea in my mind, or not an idea, but a thought in my mind. But what you said with technology, I think it's that way from a society standpoint as a whole, right? Like if you date back to Blockbuster, like Blockbuster had the ability and opportunity to buy Netflix, and they like, man, be serious, right? Same with the cell phone. Who could ride around with the big cell phone that was in the car? Yeah, right. And, so Nur Muhammad said, you got to be a prophet, right? Most of us have 2 sights of vision. The prophet has 3, the ability for foresight to see in the future. So again, with ChatGPT is great if you know how to utilize it to enhance what you're doing. You could use it to essentially record these calls, what you're doing, transcribe it, right? And then put it into the agent and tell it to turn it into a blog post for you on the key topics, turn it into a Twitter post, right? To monetize your platforms, etc. And that way now you're working smarter, not harder, and you're not living your life in fear. All right. And I think really that's what it is for most of us, right? That's why most of us, they classify us as poor, but not from a financial standpoint, the acronym. Yeah, and not only spirit, because it's your thoughts. Your thoughts become your spirit. And the acronym for poor is passing over opportunities repeatedly. So a lot of us, it's just, I want to stay at the job and, I'm content here.
Right.
Hey, Brother Tony, call up here and say my grandmother died so I can get off work because I ain't got no more leave. And like them days over with. These companies, they but profit. That's what's going on right now. A power transition of the wealth and the money. So they're not again, paying anybody for nothing, just sitting at the job, your minimum wage going up, you're not investing in yourself, they see that, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we need to wake up and see that.
That's right. That's right.
Society has gotten so much more intelligent, and the analytics are more prevalent. Just like you were talking, even when you just go on Instagram or Facebook, all of the analytics are right in your face. And it was interesting what you said even about the AI, because even as a feature of the Zoom now, they transcribe. There's a feature where they literally transcribe this whole, everything that we're talking about is transcribed. It's written, it's already done. Where at one point, this stuff was longhand. You had to have somebody who actually sat down and could write out what we were talking about, which means that there was going to obviously be some mistakes. But as the technology is increasing now, it's becoming more and more dynamic. The information is becoming more and more exact, which is pushing the God in us. That's what we have to understand, is that we are also being pushed to be greater. And I appreciate what you said. What the technology properly used, it just helps us to get things done at a better pace. It really puts us in a position, if we stay on top of it, to become masters in a major way. I was at dinner one time with the minister, and you know how some of the older believers, they want to say, oh, that Instagram and that on Facebook, all of they going crazy, because the believers, it magnifies your personality, because it's the first time in your whole life somebody can see you. You might go on the internet and you got 10,000 people that follow you now. You're like, I am somebody. I am somebody today, so it feeds that, and I don't know if you all caught in the newspaper recently, not in newspaper, but online, where Facebook just got sued and Meta just got sued, and YouTube was sued. For I think they was like $3 million. It's just a drop in the bucket for them. That ain't hurt. That's like 3 pennies for the kind of money they got. But the precedence that was established was because of the addiction to social media. I kind of not agree with it. I think that that you got to be able to regulate yourself with anything that you do. But the point I'm getting at is, the minister said one time, and I was at dinner with him, and they were all around the dinner table, and we all talking about citing the problems, and somebody said, yeah, brother minister, they on social media and they doing this and they doing that. And the minister said, there's nothing wrong with the social media. He said exactly what Brother Jay is saying. He said, it's how you use it. He said, if you use it for bad, then you will get that result. He said, but it can be used for good. See, that's a man who is, what you said, has a prophetic understanding of time and the advancement of humanity. Nothing stays the same. We don't have a reel-to-reel anymore, bro. I'm saying my uncle had a dope one in the basement. Dope reel-to-reel, that he got from overseas. Y'all looking at me strange. Real. Some of y'all know the reel-to-reel, is an actual reel on one side and a reel on the other side. And there's a tape that rolled down through the mic. And that's how you played music. That's how you got your sound, and then the 8-track, we remember that. Then the cassette, and then the CD. And then we went from the CD, went to MP3, and now we're streaming. You know what I'm saying? We don't even have to have any data stored on our device. We can literally pull it out of a cloud and pull all the information that we need out of a cloud at the same time. So Brother Lewis, I saw you want to say something. Then we're coming right back to you, Jay. Unmute.
I'm gonna leave the floor open for Brother Jay. Let Brother Jay go right ahead.
Go ahead, Brother Jay.
And
was you gonna say something, Brother Lewis? I heard you say and.
No, I want to listen to you, Brother Jay.
Okay, now real quick, I appreciate that. Thank you. 2 things real quick. Well, I forgot the one, Brother Michael. It'll come back to me. But just for anybody on here that's interested in AI or looking to leverage AI, the main thing, and write this down, or I'll put it in the chat. Study prompt engineering.
Yes.
Because you're not gonna get the right results if you're not
expert prompt.
And if you're not inserting the correct prompt, right? Because there's a structure, right? An objective you must have. Tell it how you want it to output. Tell it to cite any information. So, for instance, if Brother Michael's looking to do a podcast, he's going to tell it to act as the role of a market researcher for a podcasting brand, put in his location, put in what he wants his topics to be around. And again, back to what I was saying earlier, all this stuff requires critical thinking. So we got to stay in these think tanks. We got to, size each other up with the mind, not a challenge to anybody, right? Just really pouring into one another for an hour or two out of a week.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. And that's a form of self-love, self-mastery, because you got to want it for yourself.
Yes.
You can only want for your brother what you want for yourself. So that's to the ego and all that stuff. You don't have that stuff when you know yourself, when you're comfortable with who you are, where you're going in life, right? Someone told me once in business when I first started, a person's not worried about really pouring into you and giving you the knowledge when they're comfortable and confident in their clientele. They're not worried about you stealing any clients or anything like that from them. They know they provide great service. They know they got a good rapport, all those things with their clients. So we have to kind of deploy that mind frame, and it starts with self-mastery.
That's right.
Brother Michael can give me an opportunity, but he can only give me an opportunity that I'm at least somewhat prepared for. He don't hire me to come film his podcast if, I have no experience. We may start from the bottom together, right? We even then we kind of got to stop that too, right? Because it's like there's some stigma and truth to some of these stereotypes about us, right? Some of us just lazy. We gotta call it for what it is.
Teach, brother.
That's right.
Teach.
You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I ain't trying to believe that. Man, they said Farrakhan did this and that. You don't do no research for yourself.
None. That's right.
You lazy. You know what I'm saying?
Teach.
And when I was growing up playing basketball, my coach, that's what he would always say. How you do anything is how you do everything. Practice how you play. You pray how you practice. Right. So we gotta
and you
more so for my last thing I'm gonna say, Brother Lewis, more so for my generation. Some of the older guys don't have it figured out, but more so for my generation, we gotta really get disciplined.
Yeah.
We gotta stop the drinking. We gotta stop the smoking.
That's right.
We gotta stop having sex as a pastime.
That's right. Come on,
man. We gotta stop lounging, smooching off the women.
That's right, bro.
You know what I mean? We gotta stop going on these podcasts talking about the women and work. Lead.
Right.
Show up. You know what I mean? You gotta show up for yourself.
There's only so much talking, bro.
Yeah, it's only so much talking.
That's right.
That's it, though. Again, I appreciate the platform, brothers.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, brother. Yes, sir.
I don't point, brother.
What's so interesting about what that young man, Brother Jay, just said about being lazy and having a bunch of excuses, which you'll never discover the God in yourself being like that. I mean, and it's a shame because what happens, and I'm sure Brother Jay could relate, then you start blaming others for what you didn't do for yourself.
That's right.
And then you start saying God gonna fix it, the mystery God now, the spook. And you don't put any pressure on yourself to come up out of this condition.
Come on.
And so it becomes easy to point the finger at others or get into what we call personality worship. See, a lot of us sit around, watch TV all day long and follow people who are in media because they're our idols.
Yes.
Idol. We have all this idol, and then we make them into I do laters, the I do later cult. Yes. And we pass this on to Brother Jay's generation. Yes. And then we're hypocritical and we talk about these young people, but we're the hypocrites.
Teach, brother.
Because we're asking for something from young people that we never gave them a foundation. See, that young man should not be doing foundation work. That was my job. That was your job. That was our job.
Yes.
We were supposed to lay a foundation and then tell the young man, you stand on top of what I've built and you take it higher. Now, in Arabic They say He, Allah, is one God. It's interesting because the original God studied himself and then seen a second self. You see? If you get 2, it's easier to get 4. And if you get 4, it's even easier to get 8. And if you get 8, you can quickly get 16. The hardest thing is for that one to study himself long enough to find in himself a second self that can reflect that energy so that you can have power. All right? Now, you can understand that on many levels. You can understand it on a personal level with your immediate family, but this is how nations come into existence. Master Fard Muhammad found one man, and that one man could reflect his energy, and he built the minister and others, and the minister built us. And it's something that we have to do because we can't keep repeating the history and starting all over again. Now, I want to move to something, if we could, Brother Mike.
Please.
On what we'll have to do to end this idol worship and blaming others. And what is the pathway to becoming a God? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan, they teach us that the restrictive law of Islam is our success at any given time.
Anytime.
Part of what makes our brotherhood so good, I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Me and brother John traveled all over this country doing these town hall meetings, laughing. We had so much fun. We were working with Dr. Ava Muhammad, but never had a cross word. You and I, we dig into teachings, and we both just, you know how we are, Brother Michael.
Yes, sir.
Never had a cross word. I consider them, these are sparring partners.
Yes.
And the old fighters, if you go back and watch the old boxing matches with Bo Jack, who used to throw that bolo punch, that all of these different fighters, the people they loved the most were their sparring partners. When Brother Jay comes to this gym, this think tank, it is my prayer that when we come out of here, we're sharper and we're more precise.
Yes.
And what we're talking about, laying pressure on our mind,
sir.
what we're thinking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because we've entered a dark time now. And this is what John is trying to get us ready for. When I joined the Nation of Islam, there were all of these phenomenal teachers and students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad who were helping Minister Farrakhan. Now listen to this. We had Brother Rahman.
Yes, sir.
Teach Farrakhan, teach. Remember him?
Yes, yes, sir.
That's right.
We had the beautiful, eloquent Dr. Ava Muhammad, my mentor, sister, and teacher. Ours, okay?
Yes, sir.
We had Blade, a.k.a.
Right.
Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Remember him?
Yes, sir.
Brother Akbar just made his transition. Now, when we joined the nation, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, we would get to hear these people teach it. Brother Jabril.
Yes.
Now we're getting ready. It's test time because the crucifixion and the test is here. What is the test? Black people have always betrayed their leaders. They betrayed Marcus Garvey. See, this is something that's poison in our nation that we got to get out. Why do we always betray good Black men? And only later find that these people were the greatest gift that God could ever give us.
That's right. That's right.
But we betray them. This is the poison in our hearts out of envy and jealousy, Brother Mike, that we got to be on the guard against.
Yes, sir.
Why would you betray your teacher? Now listen to this. I want to point to study guide number 16. And by the way, I know everybody's not a registered Muslim, but you don't have to be a registered Muslim to get self-improvement. The study guide, self-improvement, the basis for community development, but it's really the basis for nation development, okay? In the law of God, I want to read just a little bit, Brother Mike.
Yes.
In the book of Proverbs, the 16th chapter, the 18th verse, this is Minister Farrakhan highlighting and saying this, okay? Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. A fall can take place from an exalted position, but evidence of the fall is not manifest to the eyes of the people until we reach a certain point in the fall. Malcolm said, I saw myself falling a long time, but I could not help myself.
Couldn't check it.
We can, however, now look at the mercy, reverse the fall, but only with the help of Allah God. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the prophets are sent into the world to check or stop or break a fall of man by calling fallen or fallen ones back to obedience to Allah God. It is a sincere repentance coupled with a willing spirit to obey God that checks the fall and reverses the trend. Malcolm could not help himself because of his anger at his teacher for sitting him down at the height of his career. His pride, his popularity with the people, the evil thoughts he harbored in his heart against his teacher, and his inordinate desire for his teacher's place would not allow him to submit himself to his teacher in order to save himself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad often inflicted pain on me. He did this not to show that he was the master, but rather because he wanted me to become a master. Teaching was and is my gift, and each of you has been given a gift by Allah God.
That's right.
However, unless we allow ourselves to be made better persons, we will never be qualified to be used by Allah in satisfaction of the growing desire of people of all races and nationalities for proper divine leadership. This is why the restrictive law is our success. Master Fard Muhammad came to us with a promise of luxury, money, good homes, friendships in all walks of life. He promised us that if we follow him and endure the hardship and the suffering necessary to be remolded and remade, the results would be luxury. But he warned, if you do not clean up, you are out of luck with us. This showed his unwillingness to tolerate us in the class if we do not make sincere efforts to clean up. Present day leadership in the world, both spiritual and political, consists primarily of persons who desire a place and position of authority and power. People who are loyal to themselves, personality, and are not necessarily loyal to principles. This is totally wrong. In the Nation of Islam, proper leadership is that which teaches us loyalty to Allah God, his messenger, the law, and myself. When we break the loyalty of the law, we break the code of friendship between us. And more importantly, we do not deserve friendship with those who strive to live by the law, unless and until we are punished and begin striving again. I'm going to stop right there.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful.
But I want to put that and ask us if we will go back and consider rereading. This is out of a letter that Minister Farrakhan wrote. We have to strive to be righteous in order to boost our magnetic energy to attract and bond not just the brotherhood, but our people and ultimately all of humanity. Distrust among the brotherhood is often rooted in the breaking of the restrictive laws of Islam. So in order to fix a lot of the problems, we have to fix those broken parts of ourselves.
Teach.
In order to make the bond of brotherhood closer. Our young people, if they see the elders or the old, because I called out the names of the teachers that were present and traveling all around the nation when I joined in 1991. Well, we have become the elders now, Brother Michael.
Yes.
Brother John. And now we have to give good, righteous counsel. See, if you 90 years old and you real hard on brothers about fornication and God help us with the adultery, that's one thing. But to be a young man and speak like Brother Jay just spoke about not partying and not drinking and just shunning. See, I'm proud to say I joined the nation in my 20s. And I struggled to live that, to walk that walk. And I know what that feel like, and I know the reward and the benefit of it. And I'm praying that our brother, the young brothers that are on here, have great, great, great success. And I want to point them toward what Minister Farrakhan pointed us toward, Brother Michael. Thank you for letting me share that.
Well, I appreciate it, Brother Lewis. I thought you were continuing, but I tell you what, you know, it's very powerful and very potent in what you're sharing, because what we're essentially talking about, I'm going to take it a little bit liberty and just say every brother. I'm not going to just say the young brothers, because all brothers are still faced with this challenge of morality altogether. This is a part of the attack of the enemy. I remember, you know, I was listening to the minister again at a dinner moment, and he was talking about his, you know, talking about being the moral superior. Actually, I was saying that to him, to be very frank, because he was questioning us around the table. This is after he had dropped this revelationary principle on I think John 3:16, for God so loved the world. He was breaking down what that meant. He said it wasn't this world that God loved, but it was the world that God loved. And so anyway, during that point, he went around and asked us all questions at the table. And one of the things that came out of me was, I said, I want to be the moral superior to my enemies, as you are the moral superior to your enemies. It came out of my mouth before I realized what I was saying, because really, his enemies are my enemies. You know what I'm saying? I'm a student. But my point in saying that is just to come to what you're saying, Brother Lewis, is that if we don't clean up our morality, our morals, then we don't have a defense against our enemy. And even in a time like this, the enemy is working overtime to corrupt us. My brother mentioned Sean Combs. You know, he's, and not to knock our brother, he's an ill brother. Something in all of us is some level of illness. So there's no judgment against him. His was just put on display and magnified. If you put any of us on display and magnify some of our faults, anyone can paint it with an ugly brush. But if we work harder to be moral, then we can at least resist the enemy, because he's a hypocrite. The enemy is a master hypocrite. So he will corrupt you and then condemn you and put you on display while he promoted the whole idea in the first place. You see, so it's so important that we really take heed to what you're saying, because we're talking about being prepared in how are we preparing in a time of conflict. That is an essential part of preparation in conflict. If you don't have control over your appetite as a man, you become a monster, you become a problem, you become an enemy to your own people. And the other thing is, you're right, this is a stage, and I mentioned it in the opening, the stage is set for crucifixion. This is a cycle with us. And it's unfortunate that we haven't yet learned, because again, we're looking at it through the lens of our enemy. We keep looking at everything in life, or we keep operating from that framework. Every leader that we have of consequence, that's significant, we're the only people that you will find sitting around working overtime to discredit the leader. You see, whether it's Dr. King's shortcoming, whether it's any of their shortcomings, we put it under a microscope, and we help the enemy discredit the good of the man.
That's right.
We become participants in that process, willing and unwilling or unwitting conspirators in the destruction of the character. So therefore, all of the good of the man is thrown out, even if the man had a flaw, which happens to all of us coming out of the hell of this society, So we have to become wise in an hour like this, because it has a straight line directly back to each and every one of us. If you got that kind of mind, you'll treat your brother to your right and to your left like that. You'll treat your brother in front of you like that. So we got to eradicate that kind of disease out of our heart. And let me tell you something. You said something about morals, and I want to say this because sometimes we talk about what we need to do to clean up. Stop fornicating, stop committing adultery, and all the things that we do, right? Or we fallen victim to, or something, some sort. The way that we do that effectively, just for those who are listening, is aim at something greater. You see, when we aim at something greater in life that we desire to be, which is, I want to be a good, righteous man. You create a high level investment in where you aiming your thought process, then you won't want to do anything that will pull you away from being that. And if morality or immorality pulls you away from doing that, then you will want to go to war with that. In other words, if you climb in a tree and then you dip down in something that you shouldn't dip down in, and it pull you all the way back down to the ground, you'd be like, damn, I'm trying to get up to the top of the tree. I'm not going to get to the top of the tree if I keep on dipping down in this low vibration here. You see, so I'm just saying it's important to set our goal, because, we grew up in a European style way of being taught. Don't. And what do we end up doing? Doing. Because we're being told don't. And we do. You see? And it doesn't work like that. When you understand how to lift and raise a man up, you got to point the man to something that is greater than himself, that allows him to build up his inner being. Now, Minister Jabril said this, and I'll yield over to my dear brother Jay. Minister Jabril said this recently in the lecture I was listening to. He said, the more you study God, the more you study the knowledge of God, and the more you study that, and I mentioned this lightly in my opening, the more you study the knowledge of God in yourself, he said, it eradicates a low self-esteem. You cannot have a low self-esteem. The more you know yourself, the more you know the God in you, then the higher your self-esteem. And esteem just simply means love. So you are not going to go and abuse your body and be fat forever. You see what I'm saying? And no disrespect to my brothers who struggling with their weight, but this is something you need to think about. You won't go and just abuse something, putting chemicals in your body that are going to be harmful to your body. Oh, it tastes great. It's killing you, but it tastes great. You will make a maneuver to try to better take care of yourself so that you can be in a better state to live up to your fullest potential. Brother Jay.
Yeah, to your point, it's hard to hit a moving target.
Right on.
That's why you really have to, use that solitude time. And one of the great videos you have on your channel about controlling your sexual appetite, discipline, like a lot of good points you dropped in that video. And then the minister said the highest form of self-love is self-discipline, which is so true. And you're spot on with, if you don't know where to start, sometimes you just gotta have a higher target or just a target for yourself. That's why I was saying it's kind of hard to hit a moving target. And just really focusing on, a thing at a time, because a lot of these skills and whatnot that we learn are really kind of like transferable, right? A lot of us in the community, depending upon how the household is structured, a lot of these key valuable characteristics we may learn from the coach, the neighborhood coach, or wherever, somewhere in the community. And that's what I was really getting back to when I said I forgot my point that I was trying to make. Community, right? This is a community. Each one reach one, teach one. And as you build out a community, what ends up happening is you have a set of standards, right? And I was listening to something recently, and I agree. Some of the people in our generation, we have to hold them accountable.
Yes.
It has to be known that you're not living up to the standards of the community. All ethnicities do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's just like kind of like we accept whatever almost, right? Like, even if you look back on some of these 90s, movies, and just times in general, right? The hood, the ghetto, right? Even though they may have been disenfranchised and all these things, they still took pride in what they had.
Yes.
Now we kind of treat it like whatever. All you gotta do is listen to the music.
Yes.
He's selling dope out my grandmother's house, and you know what I'm saying, and
yes.
This silliness, buffoonery, coonery and buffoonery, tap dancing.
Absolutely.
Shucking and jiving.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, brother. Absolutely.
Shucking and jiving.
Yeah, something I heard that this guy was saying was, and what made me, circle back to the community. It is on the elders, but it's also on like the guys like my age, right? To teach the brothers to the left and right of me that's in the same age group as me or younger. Because what ended up happening with age, right? As you grow age, as you get blessed with age, hopefully what comes with that is wisdom, right? And you become wise enough to know this young fool will shoot me. These young fools carrying them pocket rockets. You know what I'm saying? With all types of modifications on them. So I know that this fool just may shoot me. But we're trying to help him better his life. So what ended up happening is you back off, right? And you say you fend for yourself. And what ended up happening is you have a community of young individuals that brains aren't fully developed yet, policing themselves. Being a leader amongst themselves. And so what you end up having is that's where the morality comes in, right? Because what do you worship? Man make money, money don't make the man.
That's right, bro.
So if you don't know that, though, then Brother Michael's not cool. You know what I'm saying? It's whomever rapper is and whatever the net worth that the Forbes magazine say that he worth. But we saw, like, with Kanye, you say the wrong thing, wrong name, you no longer a billionaire overnight. So did you ever have it? So then you gotta say, okay, enough is enough, right? And what I mean by that is like I was once told, if Brother Michael, you have 12 million, and I have 20 million. I mean, mathematically, I got more than you, right? But we still in the same neighborhood.
Yes.
We still in the same Rolls Royce, if that's what we, So after a while, you got to realize this stuff and I'm not saying it's just numbers to minimize it, because it's a lot of good and impact that can be done with money, right? But you got to make the money and have a plan with the money, and not just
absolutely.
That's right.
To just like, I bought 3 Rolls Royces for all my homies, but my grandmother's still in the hood. She can barely walk, and they shooting around the way.
That's right.
Man, it's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? So, but all that starts with being tapped in.
Yes.
To your mental, because it can sound great. What you saying, Brother Lewis, Brother John, Tony, Michael, like, But if I go in my environment and this what we on, like, so it becomes a point where you got to do the work,
Yes.
To really have the desire to live.
Yes.
Really, right? Because some of us are dying while we living.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, just hey, it's what it is. I can't do nothing. This is what it's gonna be, and that's that. But that's all I had to say. I'll let you.
Thank you, beloved. That's phenomenal. And made me think about even listening to when I was rolling with my son yesterday. We were just listening to some of the artists, and he was breaking down again. We were talking about the mental health aspect of what's going on. And you have given this young man, he's tapped into a way to make him some money, and he's probably got this. Now you got all this money, but he has not dealt with himself, and now the money is just magnified the problem. So I was like, son, I said he's pretty successful as an artist. I said, yeah. He said he's making money. He's at a certain level. He's making money. I said, then you think about, well, what was the real problem? And the real problem is not being addressed. And that goes to what I think you're saying, Brother Jay. Even when it comes to responsibility, we have to model. We have to model what you do with resources. We have to model what real success is. And the model of success that's been given to us is things. That's why when you get to that certain level, you plateau. You got millions, but y'all can all buy the same thing. So it don't matter. Like you said, whether you got 20 or I got 10, we live in the same neighborhood. We drive the same kind of car. We can do whatever we want to do the same, but the wise brother knows how to leverage and knows how to scale and knows how to go out and make other millionaires and multimillionaires and build a community out of that, and that's the mindset that we have to teach the culture that we have to teach. We have to exemplify and teach that type of culture to our people. Brother Tony.
Yes, sir. Man, y'all making some wonderful points, and I like the way, where the brother Jay's mind is at and how it operates. I really do.
Yes.
You said a key point when you shared something about Minister Jabril before he departed, and how he talked about studying the self. And once you study yourself and the God of yourself, you will never have a lack of self-esteem. When you asked that critical question, what was the problem with Puffy, with all of the money that he had?
Yes.
Ultimately, it's the lack of self-esteem. And look how it states with the human being who ultimately, particularly the original people, we have a source of divinity that seldom gets addressed and brought in the picture properly. Why? Because like Nir Zickerman said in his book, The End of the Evolution of Language. See, there is a baby language, but we also forget that there's a mature adult language and a divine language. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, take truth and put it in a baby bottle, he was talking about the expression of something so divine that a child could understand it. But what happens is you can your intellect can surpass your circumstance, and it will make you look like us, how the young people say, I'm an alien. Because their spiritual intellect now is starting to surpass the environment that they find themselves in. And when you look at the evolution of language is just like 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, first grade, second grade, third grade. It is designed ultimately to graduate you from one degree of expression to another. But we seldom graduate in our degrees of expression, like Malcolm said, that we are the only people who get stuck at our ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, whereas our ABCs should have graduated us to literary arts and the master of grammatical structure and principles and the master of sentencing and definition and root words so that nobody can pull the wool over our eyes. He said that we should have went from our 1, 2, 3s to basic math, to advanced math, to trigonometry, to calculus, to all of these advanced algebras, but we get stuck and we see that. Why? How do we know? Because you can look at us even when we talk about religion. We talk about Adam and Eve in the garden at 5 years of age, the same way we talk about Adam and Eve in the garden at 50 years of age. Two men, a man and a woman, butt naked, getting beguiled by a serpent. There's no science in there. There's no evolution of the nature of the human being, because see, the very nature of the human being, the primordial nature of the human being, it has to be understood, because sometimes we'll look at the natural expression of the human being as he goes from his animalistic state as something vulgar. Well, it's only vulgar when you grow out of it. But if you look at your child and you see your child pooping on itself in a corner, that don't look vulgar to you. You know that's that child's state of development. It's just going through its primordial stage. But if you see a grown man sitting his nasty behind in a corner crapping, you're going to be like, man, come on, you couldn't find a restroom? Because you expected him to be more advanced in his expression, his modes of expression. But what is happening is we have allowed our development, our spiritual development, to be arrested to the point that the expression does not match up with the activity.
That's right.
And except for in a very, very few precious cases. And that's why when we look at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we'll say, how can somebody betray him? Somebody can betray him because they don't have the actual language to express, therefore comprehend and envision somebody like Minister Farrakhan.
That's right.
So so of course I would trade him in, because I'm no different than a monkey running around with a briefcase with $1 million, and then you offer me a banana. I'm going to take the banana and give you the $1 million. I don't know the value in it. Nobody has taught me that the mode of expression of economics. And that's why you see all around this world, this enemy overturns countries, because he knows that people do not. Look, there's no way that Muammar Gaddafi should have been betrayed by his people.
That's right.
Wow.
We talk about the minister being betrayed. We talk about Dr. King being betrayed. Dr. King was, with all due respect, small potatoes to Muammar Gaddafi. With all due respect, we love him because he was our man, but this man had millions of people housed, fed, clothed, and he had a country, an entire nation. There was no reason his people should have betrayed him. But what this enemy does through his system of psychological warfare, he can make you become an enemy of yourself without knowing that that the biggest enemy that you have is the one in the mirror.
That's right.
He knows how to do that because he understands the people's expression through their activities. Yes, I'm watching your activities. So even if you do not have the language, I know the language, because I'm a master of languages. Just like my grandbaby might talk in goo goo gaga, but I know he want them cookies. He might not say he want the cookies. He might not even know what's good in the cookies or what's bad in the cookies. He just know, I want what's in that bag. You know what I'm saying?
Come on, bro.
You know, Papa, I just want what's in that bag. You know,
it was good. Cookies.
It was good. Yeah, it was good to me. You know what I'm saying? And but when we don't have, and I end on this point, when we don't have that language. If I don't have the language to know that, see, we're in a different position, because when we look at black people, we're looking at them through the teachings where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you're looking at a black man, you're looking at God.
That's right.
So we already have a vision and a language in our mind. Just like when Dr. Khaled used to always say, about the Kerner Commission, when Dr. King was assassinated, and he said the people wanted to know who called these people to rise up in over 100 cities and burn these cities like that. And he said what they understood was that there were two Americas, but also that the people who rose up and retaliated were speaking the same language. They had been given a language, and we needed to go to war against that language. And that's why when you look at the beauty of the Nation of Islam, look at the evolving of the language. It has the language of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as beautiful as it was, it has suffered some hard times. People think that they are smarter than that man because we hear it said that he had a third grade education. No, he had an education by God himself.
Come
So
on,
That's right.
let's
come on,
stop that
come on,
foolishness there.
freeze it,
And he
teach.
might not have used what we consider in a European mindset the excellent expression and or articulation of grammar, but what he said was, I go to the root, so I give you
That's
root
right.
language.
Yes.
Why? Why was that so important? Because do you know that in the Arabic of the Holy Quran, that is why Allah's word is so powerful, because it is at the root of everything. You can't escape it. You can't go
That's right.
deeper than it. He has already gone as deep as you can ever go when he gives you that word. All
That's
you
right.
can do is grow off of it and have different modes of expression of it. Like
right.
Brother Mike said earlier, it's important to know the attributes of God, because you will know those expressions, and then you will know who is at the root of this. My brother Mike, who's at the root of my brother John, who's at the root of my brother Lewis, who's at the root of my brother Jay, who's at the root of my brother Dr. Nat. I know who's at the root of them because I know the root out of which they're coming. You know, and so when we go back to that, I'm gonna share with y'all something just real briefly.
Take your time, brother.
Take your
My
time, brother.
father.
Take your time. Yeah.
My father was, you know, in the Nation of Islam before the fall. He became a imam up under the Honorable Supreme Minister, you know, Wafiddin Muhammad, and he didn't like because they had some contracts with the brothers coming home from the prisons, and they were using these brothers. He didn't like that. They fell apart. Went their own ways. My dad went back to the street hustling and doing what he do. You know what I'm saying? And took his boys with him. But I'm saying that to say that these teachings were not nothing new to me. But when I was on the corner and I met Brother Mike 31 years ago, actually 32 years ago, because it was first in 94. And the brother stopped me and he said, brother, you know what? I said, what, man? He said, God came. And I said, okay, he wouldn't let me go. He must have said it, man, a dozen times. Brother, God came. Do you understand? And I had to stop. And when the brother started going into the principle of God, even though these teachings was at the root of me, it awakened something in me. And I knew when I was looking at my brother 32 years ago, I was looking at God. That's why I had stepped up and tried to hold as much of this truth that I can to pass it on to the next brother, to the next man, like the brother Jay was saying, because I know that this teaching contains something like the police captain said when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he pulled him and Master Farad Muhammad over, and he said to the other officers, be careful how you handle Master Farad Muhammad, because this man is a capsule of the highest explosives. See, that's how you move when you have these teachings. And that's why, like Brother Lewis said earlier about going back, we have to go back, man, and clear the rubble off of these teachings.
Yes.
You know, I know that people want to elevate and introduce all these various scholarships and all of that.
Yes.
But these teachings, excuse me, that went on the wrong pipe. But these teachings are supreme by themselves.
Yes.
That's right.
And if we do not go too far away from that, then we won't have all of these fractions. We won't have all these various different schools of thought, like in Judaism, where you have 72 different denominations. In Christianity, you have 73 different denominations. In Islam, you have 70 different denominations. We won't have all of these fractures, but the reason why these fractures are occurring is because people are expounding, as they should, on the wisdom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but they are taking us, instead of taking us back to the root, they are taking us farther and farther away from the root. Like I was talking to one of the brothers who had the discussion with Dr. Wesley, and I said, I was trying to admonish him. I said, you know, because I spoke to Dr. Wesley a few years back when he was down here, And I just and I told the brother, I said, you got to be careful because you can take our people so far out in space, and without an anchor, they'll be drifting out there in an orbit in all of that darkness of all of this convoluted wisdom, as Brother Jay said, given our intellect over to AI because they think that this stuff is superior because it's new, but once it's tried, will it prove true? And that's what we have to get back to doing. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, just like Paul said in the scripture, prove everything. And that's what we have to get. Yeah. Yeah, and hold on to that which is good. Exactly, Brother John. And that's what we have to get back to. We have a lot of good stuff that has come out. But if God is tending to do something that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, let's not be too sure about it, except that it come from the mouth of his messenger to us, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Beautiful. Beautiful. It raised the thought in my mind. He said, how strong is the foundation? Can we survive? He didn't say how strong was your elevation and your thought into the stratosphere. He said, how strong is the foundation? And that's beautiful, Brother Tony, what you said, because that's exactly what we have to go to. It's just like what happened with Brother Lewis and I on the phone. And it goes to what you were saying, Brother Jay, about the think tank and the culture. We creating a culture, brothers tapping in. Even if it's a few hours in a week, just a couple of hours and tap in and tap into the God. We anchor each other in that. Hearing Brother Tony, Brother John, Brother John inspired the subject today. You see what I'm saying? So you understand what I'm saying? He inspired the thought that the conversation that we're having. So I said we're gonna jump off from that, and we jump off from that. Then Brother Lewis and I talked during the week, and I watch how the accumulation that started with a thought starts to happen and then when you get into the car, and I'm looking at it, from like an MC. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, and I've been doing radio for many, Brother Lewis, for many years I've done radio. So knowing how to navigate these kind of conversations it becomes a second nature for you in a sense, but you're looking for how things move and how they come together, how the pieces come together. And it's almost like an orchestra. Each instrument is starting to play its tune. And then you say, oh, wow. This, even in the intro, it was something I said, Brother Lewis hit up on it. It didn't look like it's on the same note. It's right on line. Brother Jay hit technology, right on line. Brother John hit war, right on line. You see what I'm saying? So when you start to see the importance of the brotherhood, and of course, what Brother Tony is laying is foundational, which is where we stand and which is giving us our security and our ability to hold a strong line. Because if we don't have a foundation, if we're not rooted in the foundation of truth, then we won't be able to resist what's coming to us. So the book says we strain at a gnat and try to swallow a camel. You see what I'm saying? So we're trying to take on more than what we could. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, we have not exhausted. It is no way that we could have exhausted it at this point. We just haven't. The evidence that we have not exhausted, in my humble view, brothers, is that we haven't produced anything that we can look at, that we can say that we built from what he taught. Brother Lewis and I were talking, I think it was Brother Lewis and I were talking about where the nation is in terms of the building work. Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not have to go and create this wonderful sign that he created for us, farmland in Georgia. We hear about it in 74 Savior's Day. Farmland in Georgia. We had ships. Mr. Muhammad has brought this to you. Mr. Muhammad did this. This little black man, again, to your point, Brother Tony, they want to talk about what kind of education he had. He had to be taught by God to do what he did, right? He went and made us some solid spokesmen. He went and lifted up some solid brothers in the hood. Come on now. He taught them brothers, and then he went and started doing business. He told the minister, he said, brother, I listen to you because it helps my spirit, because business takes away from the spirit, you see. But then he go build farms, airplanes, land, build homes. He produced a sign of what the manifestation and the power of the word that he had. He didn't just teach us inspirational. He taught us and then gave us a sign, an example of what we can do. And that was his work. The minister said what we saw was built on the faith of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And what's the proof of that? When the test came, everything fell. Everything fell when the test came, because faith, as you pointed out earlier, brother Lewis, it has not yet, Christ hasn't been formed in us individually. Faith has not yet entered into the heart. And when faith enters into our hearts, there's no more coming against us where we're going to allow anybody to tear down anything that we build up. You just can't miss it. It's kind of like the Matrix, you know? If you notice at a certain point, Neo was coming to different stages. He realized that he was the one. He came into his own. And then every level, every advancement, now he's fighting. He's out fighting. He's beating up 100 of them. All the agents, all of the devils coming at him from every angle. He fighting. He knocking out devils here. He hitting devils everywhere you look. He fighting devils. He's an expert at fighting devils. His woman fight. Everybody fighting devils. The fear has left him. He's fighting. But then it came to a point, I think in the final trilogy, where he made an ultimate sacrifice. He realized that he had to go into the system and blow the system up with his energy from within. He didn't just, it's not like he submitted to the power of the devil, but he went in. He went deeper and blew up the system. He became the virus against the system of the devil. See, that goes to morality. When we clean up, he can't do nothing with us. He can't. The book says, touch not thine anointed. You can't do nothing with a man once he comes into the presence of God and he knows God and Christ is formed in him. He can't stop us, because what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us is an invincible truth. Listen at our conversations, brother. Listen at us talk right now. Listen at what's coming out of some mouth of some need to grow Negroes coming off the block. Look at what's coming out of us. Where did it come from? It came from the teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Huh? We can't ever deny that. We have to embrace that fully and never overlook what he has done for us, what that black man has done. And everybody's trying to write him, Brother Tony, out of history. Everybody trying to even promote his student. The minister doesn't do that. I sat in the house with the minister, and the minister said to us, we had dinner, he said, I meant that. He said, I meant that when I said, I was unworthy. Listen at the minister now. He said, I meant that when I said I was unworthy to unlace his shoelaces. Come on now. You on top, you Farrakhan. Look at the example in that, and look at the reverence that he has for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So you said something that sparked me, Brother Tony, and I'm sparked by it because I think it's very significant. Our people who are listening and who will listen to this in the future need to understand what God gave us in that black man, Elijah Muhammad, and his student Farrakhan. But you need to understand that, because our salvation, which safety from destruction, is tied directly to that man. You ain't getting out of here unless you get tied to a man that has a key to unlock you, to free you from the thinking, the mind of your enemy, that how you form your thoughts. My thoughts are not formed. Your thoughts, brothers, are not formed out of the enemy's manuscript of thinking. He's no longer controlling the diameter of our thinking. As the minister said, he coined the phrase, he who supplies the diameter of your thinking controls the circumference of your activity. Well, where is our diameter now? As you said, Brother Tony, on that corner. And obviously it was the God talking, because you definitely a God. It had to be a God to go reach and grab you, brother. That God came. See, God came to wake up the God in the black man. And we have to embrace that reality, brothers, that the black man is God. Straight up, no chaser, 100% fact. See, not spiritual, not just a good talk, not just a good quote, but the reality of ourself. And the more we embrace that reality, then we start to overcome. We start to feel that knowing beyond belief. We start to know. Praise be to Allah. I yield. On that point there, brothers. Anyone else like to? I see you, Brother Joshua, in the building. Where you at, Brother Joshua? New fruit in the house. Yeah, a lot of wisdom. Where you at, Brother Johnson? Come behind that sycamore tree. Let's hear your voice, black man. What's good with you, man?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Sir. Well, it's just I'm just in student mode. I'm just humbled and just super appreciative of this moment with this constellation of gods interjecting, and it's a fireworks show of just knowledge and just wisdom that's coming off right now. But um, just I guess I'll share a couple notes I've been taking since I'm in student mode and classes in session. But I went and grabbed my study guide here when Brother
Yes,
Lewis
sir.
had to break
Yes, sir.
down chapter 16 when we was going over the restrictive laws and how it's the key to our success. And it's very, I mean, it's more true now than ever that we got to really hold on to what has been taught. So in my notes, as we was going over it, in the book, that wonderful book, We Must First Be Brothers, Brother Michael, you number one, you stated that studiousness is the origin of a high functioning and developed brother. And that, just that being number one is that we, especially as Black people, and more specifically as men, I do believe that we are in need of just as a whole, just the supreme education of the knowledge of self, and then we need to make ourselves masters of self, just as Brother Jay had said earlier. Brother Lewis also said, fix the broken parts of ourself. And we need to go in and really look and see what's broken, what's wrong, where we went left and where we fell out, and how can we get back and restore ourselves back to our proper function to continue on the work of our ascension. And as I was going through the book, my original point, excuse me, I'm kind of all over the place with it, but
No, you good, brother. You right
um,
on point.
number 55 of your key principles was that we must learn to fight and be militant. And I was just breaking down all of, the two words, fight and militant. Like, let me be a student and see exactly what it means, in this part here. Because when I hear fight, I'm thinking like, yes, we're in a war zone. We're definitely, if you flip on the news, you see it all day long. Iran and the US, Israel, they're all going at it. And what about here in America? We're literally, if you look at us, we live in a literal war zone, and Allah has given us the luxury of sleeping in it. And we must wake up and become aware, and we must fight and be militant and really get to the safe haven so that we can seek shelter and then start growing from there. But it pushed me to from that. Like I said, we're sleeping in this war zone. In the Bible, in Ephesians 5:14, it says, "Awake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." um, we gotta wake up and know that there's a fight. So first thing is, what is a fight? A fight, by definition, from Webster's, the White Dictionary, is a
Yes.
hostile encounter involving physical combat, a verbal argument, or a determined struggle against an opponent or obstacle. And I looked at the word determines that we're out here, we're fighting each other all day long, but we're not using our brain. We're not fighting our brain. We're not fighting the reels that we have of all the suggestions of foolish thoughts, foolish behavior, adultery, fornication, drugs, abuse, and whatnot. We have to learn how to make a stand. And then being militant was that in the Collins Dictionary is that it's an individual or a group characterized by an aggressive combat or vigorously active approach to supporting a cause, often favoring extreme or confrontational methods. We got to get extreme in this fight. We got to
Yes.
pick a side and get all the way to the left and fight with all of our might if we
Peace.
plan to overcome the oppression of what's
Teach.
going on. Because if you look around, this enemy is very extreme. I
Yes.
see a lot of people kind of floating in between. It's like you
That's right.
can't be
All
so
that soft.
Islam,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
Yeah.
gotta you
yeah.
gotta go easy on everyone. Everyone deserves love and support. But when I grew up, growing up in America, I didn't get 100% love and support from our white counterparts,
That's
from
right.
my white teacher and everything like that.
That's
We
right.
as black people, we have experienced total warfare. It's been a fight on us, and they have been really militant and very, very strategic. about how they picked us apart. And even when we go back to times of when we were being lynched, sexual assault, forced labor, now modern day, the prison pipeline, destruction of self-knowledge and education in low income communities.
Conflict,
We have
constant conflict.
really been picked apart very surgically and strategically about but how can we progress even as a people? We can't, most of us have a hard time just getting off of welfare as it is. Most of us have a hard time finding a job. Don't catch a felony. That's easy. It's easier to get a felony than it is to get a job or get someone to help us out here.
That's right.
It's just like I said, a lot of my points are still very all over the place, but dialing
No, you're right, bro. Keep going.
really have to get to the mastery
You
of
own it.
ourselves. Just like you said, Brother Michael, when you listen to these young artists, Young Boy, the Baby, you name it, these are gods, but they don't know themselves. They don't understand. And it takes, quite some time to become a master of self. Like I was just reading, what is it to be a master? It says 1,000 hours of education, thousands of hours of work. There's what's called the teach back method, and I'll get ready to close it out here.
Take
But
your time.
to prove that you are a master, you got to be able to teach back to me what was taught to you. I worked some time
You can't
in the
teach it, don't know
automotive
it.
industry. The automotive industry, I became a master technician. But what did that mean from when I was a regular tech coming into the automotive space? When I became a master, I knew the sound of a working car. I know Brother Tony earlier was picking apart. He was talking about different gears and stuff being broken, needing to be replaced, chains that got to get replaced, things that got to get oiled, becoming a well-oiled machine. And I understood before a car came into the shop, if it sounded funny, I knew exactly what that is. I know exactly, how to fix it because I have a mastery. Then I can take anybody and at least give them a decent or moderate education to be able to have some sort of mastery. And we got to get with get with our master and learn that teaching from God. Our master is God. How do we get that? Follow the curriculum in our study guides. Follow the restrictive laws because that's the key to our success. And don't be afraid to tap on a Brother Michael and say, hey, brother, I read your book. I've read many technical manuals on how to build a car from the ground up, but let me take the time to read this book and see what my brother Michael has to offer me. Let me see what the minister offers me. And let me see if I can pick the brains and unlock certain parts of myself and apply this knowledge to me because everything counts moving forward. Everything counts.
That's right.
Forward.
Everything.
The more and more you stack up, the more and more you can share with everyone else because the information that I might have gotten from Brother Michael, I might have to share it with my cousin or little Pookie down the street and, and enlighten him and turn him into the next Brother Muhammad. He
sir.
A good nickname and became a man of God, a God-fearing man, just because of, a book or a little bit of wisdom I shared from, my beloved brothers and, masters in their arts.
Praise, brother, you over there beaming. Brother, listen.
Man, wasn't he, man? See, that's
what are you talking
about?
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's why everybody need to find their voice, man.
Tony, Brother Jay.
What?
Brother Joshua.
That brother's
that's what I'm talking
right
about, bro.
Joshua.
Yes, sir.
I gotta tell you, our future is bright.
Right.
I'm just sitting here and let me tell you something. I've read many automotive technical manuals, but I wanted to read your book. See, skills pay the bills, man. Listen.
Pay the bills.
But we got to have a moral compass and a love for ourselves and a love for our people to bring it all together.
That's right.
The minister would be so proud of these, Brother Jay and Brother Joshua.
Oh,
yes, sir.
And he would be proud of the brothers, all of us on here, for having such a beautiful study group, think tank, sparring session,
That's right.
I got to say this because it was brought up by Brother Tony about Brother Muammar Gaddafi. I know it's late, but I think it's necessary for me to say this. He was betrayed. And the minister held a press conference after the demise of Muammar Gaddafi. And he said, when I looked in Gaddafi's face, I seen my face. It's on the internet. You can go look at the minister's press conference. It was held, I want to say it was held at Mos Mariam. This is important because part of the messianic figure's title and what a messianic figure does, he reconciles man back to God. See, in order to make us slaves, they had to reduce us beneath being just need to grows and make us almost into 3/5 of human beings psychologically, spiritually, disconnect us from the source of our power, which is God. Prayer and meditation was banned on the plantations. They used to sing a song, I couldn't hear nobody pray. So we've had many messianic figures that have come among the people and tried to reconcile us back to being a God again. This is real. We are God's people. We are the children of God. And when we grow up, we get to become God. Do you hear what I'm saying, brothers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the enemy has killed many messianic figures among us. And he takes delight in getting us to kill our own people, causing us to fight constantly and kill one another. There is a key character that has been at the presence of every crucified leader that we've ever come, and it is the Judas factor. Now, we're living in a time when the crucifixion or the betrayal of Minister Farrakhan, who has been a man who could electrify the masses of our people and pull together the nationalistic elements all together in a workable unit under a nation-like mentality. They want that man betrayed. And this is written of in a study guide that he put out, I want to say it was in 1986, but he wrote then what would happen for now. And I think it's important that we share it. I want to call everybody's attention to the study guide 17 on hypocrisy and conspiracy. And I'm going to read a little bit of what the minister said. And this is especially for the young brothers. Hopefully they'll take notes, because even if we're not here, then you got to hold up the flag of our nation and you got to go teach this information to the people, because it's happening right now. I'm going to start on part 3, page 129. Why do I write? This is Minister Farrakhan talking. Why do I write a study guide on hypocrisy and conspiracy at this junction? Even as the rod of Aaron budded and the rod of the pretenders did not, creating more intense hatred in them of Aaron. Even as Jesus did what the leadership of the day was unable to do, but were prevented from doing by the envious condition of their hearts and minds. See, they could have done it, but their heart and mind wasn't right. I write this study guide at this time to warn the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Black people in general that the plot thickens, the conspiracy broadens, the secret councils are taking place. People are being drawn into the conspiracy through ignorance, and others are drawing them into conspiracy knowingly and deliberately. The sin of ignorance is the dissatisfaction with the apparent slowness of Allah, God's reward for faithful service. See, I've been in here since 91. Reward for faithful service. Dissatisfaction because you ain't get the reward yet. All right, I'm going to continue. I have put forth this study guide that we may not fall victim of history. See, this history happened during the time of Malcolm X. during the time of Marcus Garvey, during the time of Yahweh Ben Yahweh, during the time of Muammar Gaddafi. The Black nation has to grow beyond betraying its leaders, all right? Dispelling the ignorance with knowledge can save the unwitting, dissatisfied from becoming part of the conspiracy. But those moved by envy and hatred cannot be turned aside with knowledge. In the case of Judas, it was not the 30 pieces of silver that were important. It was the envy and the hatred of the one he betrayed that moved him. Disappointment and dissatisfaction preceded treachery. Very few persons can even imagine themselves in the place of such a wretched individual as Judas. But envy and hatred grew over a period of time. No one is beyond the capacity to become a Judas. Everyone experiences disappointment and or dissatisfaction at some time or another. It is how we handle it that determines the direction. But what process, we may ask, was the mercenary disposition of Judas converted into hatred against Jesus? The process was that of disappointment. When Judas became convinced that all the years of his connection with Jesus and the disciples had been lost, he became embittered and his resentment was aroused. In the denseness of the ignorance and the baselessness of his soul, he probably thought that Jesus had deceived his followers as to his true mission, and he felt enraged because he had been duped. See, he thought that Jesus fooled him. This is Judas, all right? He had looked forward to worldly promotion. He wanted to be a big shot in the world.
That's it right there. Look at me. Look at us.
He had fondly hoped that the eloquence, Minister Farrakhan is very eloquent. He had fondly hoped that the eloquence of Jesus would call around him revolutionaries who would drive the Romans from Judea and establish the long looked for kingdom. At the Last Supper, he became convinced of his worst fears were true. Jesus was sincere in his resolution to offer himself as a sacrifice for the sake of a principle which Judas did not approve of because he did not understand. The 30 pieces of silver were not the real or leading inducement of the monumental betrayal. He made haste to vent his wrath upon the author of his disappointment. Just a little more, brothers. The government of the United States is envious of the rise of our lives in terms of our numbers, our growth, the future that Allah has promised us through the mouths of his prophets. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, they desire to rob us of that future. 1 year ago, the FBI promised one of its informants that by September 1989, if they did not have me, talking about Minister Farrakhan, in court, they would have blown me out the water. The wicked plot did not succeed, and I could say so much on that. However, they have never stopped trying. Since then, they have been made to realize that their courts, which have historically been the trees upon which strong Black men and women have been lynched, are not what they used to be. This is because of the heightened level of consciousness of the people as a direct result of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his servant, Minister Farrakhan. So when you're teaching like you're teaching tonight, the heightened consciousness, it causes fear in the enemy because they can listen to Brother Joshua and Brother Jay and these young people and Tony and John, and they can tell that you're conscious and on a high frequency and that you're alive. But when you're quiet and you can't see where you are in the fight, they know that you're dead or either asleep. One little small part, and this is on page 31. Silas Muhammad, through his national spokesman, is reported to have said, our focus and main purpose is to discredit Minister Farrakhan. If this is so, then they have discarded the previously claimed objective of nation building to devote their energies to the destruction of my reputation. What is the motive? Is it righteousness? Is it love of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Is it love of black people? Is it love of Allah? Is it the same motive as that which the U.S. government has envy? I'm going to stop there.
Powerful.
And I'm saying that to say that we should be on red alert when it comes, and especially when in light of what Brother Tony said about Brother Muammar Gaddafi. He did all of that good, but behind his back, there were those in his inner circle that were betraying Muammar Gaddafi. They went to the youth, Brother Jay, Brother Joshua, and they began to poison the youth's mind against the messianic figure that lived in Libya, the same way they're trying to poison the youth's mind against the messianic figure that's right here in America. I'm talking about Minister Louis Farrakhan, who has always been a defender because the government of the United States of America wants to make a youth on young black people. They have been maneuvering us for years, trying to sacrifice us to die for their sins by saying that our criminal activity is the reason why the economy collapsed. When in fact, the economy has collapsed because they're giving all their doggone money to a foreign government.
Occupying government. Teach.
We want to put everyone on notice that we see exactly how you're trying to maneuver to slander the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We've seen how you completely just tore Libya apart, killed Muammar Gaddafi. Now Libya has nothing. And if we're dumb enough to go with somebody who's slandering the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Nation of Islam won't be nothing either. So we should all wake up and be on red alert and pray that Christ has formed in us enough to know all enemies, foreign as well as domestic.
Brother.
Get in the study guides, brothers. Read your study guides. I don't care if you read it 1,000 times. Go and read it again.
Yes, sir.
Get prayer partners. Wake up for prayer and get in shape.
Yes, sir.
This could prove to be our finest hour. Don't fail an open book test. It is our opportunity to be great by Allah's permission.
Teach.
And to do what previous generations of black people didn't do. They turned on Marcus Garvey. They trumped up charges on Garvey and shipped him out of New Orleans, out of the country. They had a Garvey must go campaign against the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. They turned on, I was in Miami in 1989. I seen the good work of Yahweh Ben Yahweh. I was there when Minister Farrakhan came, but an inside guy turned on him and they betrayed him, and they locked him up, and they put him in the federal penitentiary, and he stayed there until he had a disease and came out shortly thereafter and died. Every black person who has ever tried to put black people on top, they found a way to discredit, to give false charges to get us to turn on him. See, the purpose of slandering Minister Farrakhan is to demagnetize him. And once you demagnetize him, like you demagnetize Gaddafi, and then you fund the adversary, you give them funds and you make them look like they're making progress. And then you move in to get the ignorant ones of us to yell, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. We can't let that small time stuff be pulled over on us today.
Brother,
and I'm sorry, but I just had
no,
to
no. Please don't apologize, because we ain't going to accept it, because everything you just said, brother, is right in alignment. Is 100% in alignment. You know, that's what I'm telling you, brothers. You know, I pray hard to the God, brother, you know, over these programs, and I hope that all of us who are participating, that you push out a prayer to the God to guide us in the process.
That's
you know,
right.
It's important what has happened in this call, and I hope that we all will participate. Share this with brothers. Share this, because there's a lot of meat on the bone. Share it with brothers, because this is exactly why we're here, what we're talking about. The subject was brotherhood in the time of conflict, the time and what must be done. We have covered in a very beautiful way, we have covered so much content in a very short period of time that is addressing this very topic, culminating with what you just laid out, Brother Lewis, what every brother said, from AI, from every part of what we talked about, culminating. And this is a conversation we've been having, but
That's right.
culminating on this note, and with the minister's words, and with an instruction and guidance, because this is the critical analysis. This piece right here, this attack, this is the final analysis of what we have to confront. And that is the betrayal that has happened over, as you mentioned, over and over again, to messianic figures that have come before us. Every good brother that has come, we have helped the enemy lynch our good brother. Every one of our good people that have fought for us, we take on the side of the enemy. I was listening to something the minister was saying. He said, don't ever take the side of the enemy over your brother. Don't ever take his side. Even if your brother is wrong, he said, don't take the side of the enemy against your brother. See, because we don't understand the mental issues and suffering of our people that cause your brother to be like that in the first place. We have to pass the test of loyalty, bro. We got to break the cycle of allowing them to continuously kill our leaders and kill us. Because when they kill your leader, smite the shepherd and the flock will scatter. When they kill us, when they kill our leaders, they kill everybody. So the minister said, you got your last when he said, when you killed Muhammad or Jesus, right?
That's right.
He said, you will not be able to kill Farrakhan. And the reason why you won't be able to kill Farrakhan is because the message and the work of Farrakhan is alive in us. And that's why what you said, when you said we have to study, and I mentioned it early in the opening, just go back, you'll hear it. Say we have to study, because the study is the qualifier. It's what fortifies us. It's what makes us to know, sparks the light in our brain, so that in this dark hour, we won't go to sleep like the disciples went to sleep on Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. We got to wake up, black man. You see, and all of us, and even the FOI who are listening, who need to participate in what we're doing. You need to participate and not sit on an island like we over here on some clique. This is a unified brotherhood, and we all should be participating in the process. You see, we got to wake up and be ready to go to war with the mind and the plot of the enemy. And what you laid out, Brother Lewis, just to close us out, which I thank Allah for, because I know he answered our prayer. I'm 1,000%. That's why I'm so lit, because I can feel and sense, and I know and I can see and hear the presence of the Most High in guiding us in these thought processes. Very tasteful, very careful, with great wisdom and tact. See, so any brother tuning in, you don't have to feel some kind of way, or sister tuning in, have to feel any kind of way. Just listen to the principle, because this is the stage of crucifixion that has been set, and it's not just the minister. So that's what we got to understand. It's your backside that's finna go up on the cross if you don't take a stand. They will abuse us again and again for not having the courage and the testicular fortitude to stand up and fight in an hour like this, after all that God has given us, Brother Tony, as you pointed out, the foundational wisdom that God himself has come and intervened into our affairs. How dare us not to stand up, black man?
That's
How
right.
dare us to be cowards in an hour like this? How dare us? We can pass this test, Brother Lewis. It's an open book test, and we can pass it. But we got to go study and prepare ourselves so that we don't grow weak and allow the cares of the world to seduce us to sleep in an hour where we need to stand up. So I am very grateful to Allah for this moment. And I just want to encourage my brothers, go and share this with other brothers who may need to tune in, or sisters who need to tune in to the content of the context. We can build on this. We know we can go even deeper into this subject. But these are the areas that we need to look at in a time of conflict, because the worst thing to be is the Judas. Judas was regretful after he set his brother up by the same small hats, so-called rabbinical rabbi Jews of that time, tricked Judas, giving him what did not even matter. The 33 pieces of silver didn't even matter. Tricked the brother for nothing. And now you regret once you realize who you set up, bro. You set up a man who did nothing but loved us. Ain't nobody loved us outside of God and his Christ like Farrakhan. This man, listen, brother, I come up in the era when I got to testify for just a few seconds, but we come up in the era, brother, when we go into an arena and you hear the minister. First of all, you hear the build up for the minister coming. It was controversy around the buildup, but when he came into that arena, and you as a young brother, come on, man, from nowhere, from no love university, from everybody hate us university, from on the block with nothing, then you see this brother step up, a champion, and has been faithfully warning black people for all these decades, has never betrayed us, man. See, God damn it, we owe a debt of gratitude to Allah and to our beloved brother for the sacrifice that he has made all his entire life for us, bro. And that's just on the strength. If you got an OG that we grew up with, you got an old uncle, he might have not been nothing in terms of the quality and perfection of life, but he taught you something. And see, it endeared you with love for your uncle. You can't even put that situation in the same room with Farrakhan because of the kind of love that this black man has given black people in America. So we got to understand that the God will kill us double time. The hell that we will experience from not being men in an hour like this will be severe. We don't even have an idea of the kind of chastisement we will experience from this. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad knew that we was going to fall. He knew that fall was coming. He knew we wasn't going to pass that test. So what did they give us? What did the God give? They gave us a synthesis. They gave us a tool, an instrument that balances it all out. Help us to see it, right? That's what the study guides is. The study guide removes the dross from your eyes. It makes you go in and look at the inner man. It makes you see the different angles and the strategies. But most important, it helps you to see how Satan is maneuvering, and now you can fight, right, brother? You got to know how to fight. But you got to study your opponent. You got to know how he's coming for you. And tonight, that's what this discussion set up. Conflict is all around us, brother. Joshua pointed out, we fighting on every front, man. We fighting for everything we got, brother. Even if you don't understand it, that's why it's so much pressure on the black man. You see, so we got to study, which is the dojo. It's the workout room. We got to continue to build as brothers and encourage each other, hold each other accountable, man. And in so doing, we will become more and more fortified and strengthened in our foundation. So they ain't gonna kill the minister, because he in us. The good of what that man has done is in us. You ain't killing. No, you ain't finna do away with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In a minute, the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gonna make you want to fall down on your face in a minute once you understand the value of what he has done for black people. We have no idea what that black man has done for us. I'm just sick and tired of letting these people, I'm ready to snap out and just say some real raw stuff, but I'm containing myself. I'm containing my discipline and my tongue, but I just want to say to hell with all them people that coming against what we have been given. I know I wouldn't have nothing to talk about. I wouldn't have no fight in me, man, were it not for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, were it not for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, were it not for the great helpers, even Ministers Jabril and Mother Tynetta and Dr. Ava, Minister Ava, and all these great brothers and sisters, even Khalid and all of these that have laid out and did something. What we have to come to is the square root of the reality of what happened. They tried. They did something. They got in the fight. They cared enough to give an effort to try to help black people. And for that, we should be grateful, brothers. So brotherhood in the time of conflict, the time and what must be done, I think tonight was a master class, straight up. I really believe in my heart. And I just encourage brothers that we pass it out and encourage, share this. You know, it'll be on Facebook. We'll be putting up posts on YouTube, and I'll send the link out, share it. And then we, you know, because I think that what all of us have been blessed to participate in this discussion is valuable, and it seeds further discussions that we need to have on this topic, Brother Lewis, because this is the time. This is the time. We got to stop the betrayal of ourself. The minister is a sign of ourself. We got to stop the betrayal of ourself. So thank you, brothers. May the Most High God bless each and every one of you, brothers. This has, again, been very much a blessed moment. I'm so thankful to Almighty God Allah. And I know he hears and answers prayers, because he certainly answered my prayer tonight in this discussion. I'm like, brother, I'm so lit. It's hard for me to get off, but we gotta be disciplined enough to respect time and order. But thank you all for your participation, each and every one of you. I'm feeling you, brother Noor, and I know you ain't said a word, but I'm feeling your vibration. Just from looking at your image on the call, brother Tony, of course, lit us up.
Yes,
brother
sir,
Joshua, Dr. Nash, brother Lewis, of course, brother John, Jay in the building, always lighting us up, and every other brother that may have not said anything but participated at some point or another on this call or on Instagram. We thank our assistant. We got an assistant helping us and jumped on board and helping us out, man, be pushing us out there so much, brother, you know, that I even got a small contribution from Facebook, from Meta. so we pushing it out there, brothers. Just keep pushing this out here so we can get it to our people and help raise black men to a higher state of consciousness and responsibility. We must first be brothers. Thank you, and may Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Great call, brother. Great call.